All right, we're live.
Okay. So I'll start off. My issue uh, with your interpretation of basically integration in the United States is that it's basically the only option for African Americans. And I disagree with that because I think that it was a option, but it was not the only option. And
Mm.
although it was taken, it failed.
Okay, what is the other option while we're at
The
it?
other option was what we were doing before the civil rights movement, which
And
was
and and that was.
black economic empowerment.
Mm-hmm. What
And
did they do? What did they do for the great masses of black people in the United States?
it did wonders for them. I mean, we had black movie theaters, we had the Negro Leagues, we had black movie producers, we had black films, we had black bus companies, and
Mm-hmm. We sure did. What did they do for the masses of black people?
like I said, it worked wonders for the masses of black male unemployment. BGS was far lower prior to 1968 than it was afterwards when black people had more of their own and supported more of their own businesses.
So those black people that were employed, because black people are also massively employed under slavery also. In Jim Crow, they're also massively employed. So were those black people that are employed, were they doing well?
Yeah.
Okay, you say that, and people say that a lot.
Are you aware of BGS?
What
Are you aware of Lashid for you?
I am aware of a Lashid for you,
Okay, now
does a Lashid for you actually show you the numbers and statistics?
no, Lashid for you, and I can even attest this with my own father. But Lashid for you said that when she was a little girl, her mother showed her a picture of her grandparents, and
Mm-hmm.
in the picture they were actually living in a house, I believe, in a rural area,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But they had their own house, they had their own land,
Mm-hmm.
such and such and whatnot. Then you skip forward two generations to Lashid for you, and she had to grow up in housing projects. So how did they go from? And this was after the civil rights movement. How did black people go from living on land, living in houses prior to the 1960s?
Have you ever read a book called I think it was called was it In Search of Another Sun or In Search of a Different Sun, where they talk about the where she actually wrote a book about the Great Migration?
Now I have not heard of that book.
Okay, have you heard of the Great Migration?
Absolutely.
Why? Okay, so if black people were gangbusters, doing well, had employed, doing absolutely fantastic, why did they migrate away from a place where they were doing well?
Because they were indoctrinated to, well, here's the thing, the great migration is that there were many factors involved. One
Mm-hmm.
of those was the fact was one of it was mark it was well, first of all, it coincided with industrialization. So as you had cities being built like Detroit that had industries like the auto industry
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, um,
Mm-hmm.
they needed black people as labor. So a lot of black people did move up there. And for black people, Detroit was, for the most part, um, well, at least initially, blacks were doing well in Detroit. This is prior to the 60s. But in many black cities, um, what happened with a lot of those black people is they sold off their land in the South and they went to live in these cities, and it never occurred to them that maybe they should try to keep that land, maybe at least rent it out or
Okay.
lease it.
So why do you think? Well, a great many black people actually did keep their land.
Yeah, but they didn't really develop it. Like a lot of black people have land.
So why did they leave?
Well, they left because they felt that I mean there was labor for them up north.
So why would they leave? Why would they leave a place that they're accustomed to? They had generations have grown up on, and they're doing well, to go to some unknown city where they don't know where they're going to live and what they're going to do.
Well, some of the blacks who did go up north, some of them did go back down to the South. That was not an uncommon thing for, some black people, they would go up north and they would live in Chicago or Detroit or New York for a while.
So what I'm saying, I'm trying to get you to answer, why did they leave in the first place?
Oh, I said that there was some labor for them up there, but
is that the only reason they left?
Yeah, that's the only conceivable reason I can think of. I mean, I can't
really.
Okay, what reason would you say that they left?
So have you ever lived in the Jim Crow South?
My father did.
What did he say about it?
Oh, he went through the gauntlet. He grew up in Birmingham in the 60s when they blew up the Baptist church with those girls in it.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the middle of all of that.
So why did he leave? Did he leave?
No, he told me, well, he's passed away now, but he told me that the reason he left the South as a young black man was because he couldn't find a job in Alabama.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, really? So a place where black folks own their own shit, are doing well and all that stuff, he left.
He did leave, but he said, but at the same time, black people there were still a lot of black people in Alabama who were doing well, who own businesses, but a lot of that was diminished right immediately after segregation. Desegregation. When desegregation happened, a lot of the black businesses that were thriving kind of died because.
All right. Yeah, Google Chrome screwed up someone. My other avatar probably will drop out. Go ahead, continue. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to make, is that the reason he didn't have a job, or it was probably unlikely that he was going to get a job, was because there were not enough, there weren't enough black businesses left to employ him.
Mm-hmm.
Because prior to that, black people had all types of businesses and stuff. Then desegregation happened, and a lot of black people took their money and gave it to basically white people who hated them.
So black people that are doing well, had plenty of businesses and having a gay old time.
Yeah.
Just decided that they wanted to integrate just because.
Yeah, and a lot of it had to do with, I would argue, with Christianity, which is basically a religion that basically, in my opinion, it kind of has been used throughout American history.
So
let me finish my point, sir. Throughout American history, Christianity has been used to pacify the Negro masses.
You have to speed it up, okay, a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's been used to pacify the Negro masses. So they marketed the civil rights movement as this religious thing. You know, Martin Luther King as the pastor, and we're all going against. We're like Jesus and the 12 disciples, and we're peaceful and nonviolent, and we're just gonna pray and all that. But at the same time, it diminishes Black people's ability to be decisive about their situation.
Do you know when and why the civil rights movement actually started? Because it didn't start in the 60s. You know when and why it started?
I know why when it started.
Okay, you give me your answer. Give me like a 2-minute
It
answer.
started immediately after World War II, actually in the 40s, with Black veterans who had come back to the United States, and they felt that because they had served alongside white troops in Europe and in Asia, that they felt that they should be, that institutions like segregation and stuff like that should be gotten rid of. Because, well, if we're good enough to fight alongside whites, we should be good enough to eat alongside them in restaurants. But they weren't looking at the economic implications of that.
And what happened to those veterans?
Well, they came back. A lot of them eventually participated in the civil rights movement. And that's what the whole struggle started.
So it had nothing to do with being lynched and terrorized by white people. It had nothing to do with that.
Oh, that had always been going on, and not just to Black people either. That had been going on to Asians on the West Coast. They burnt down all the Chinatowns too. It had happened to the Mexicans in the Southwest. They used to ride into Mexican towns in Texas and places like that, New Mexico, and they used to shoot up all the people there and murder people. The same thing what they did to the Black people. It happened to Native Americans. They used to ride into the reservations and murder them and target them.
So Black people are just supposed to take that and just keep stepping.
No, what happened with Black people is Black people, because of how should I say, Judeo-Christian idealism, made themselves believe that if they just prayed on their knees and begged white people enough, that white people would give them a seat at their table.
So where did you get because you didn't live through this? So where did you get this from?
Reading and research.
What books did you read that this came from?
I've read many books about the.
Give me one.
One of them is I haven't written down all the titles.
No, just give me one.
But I have read. I have read the autobiography of Malcolm X, which I thought was a good representation of.
And he never lived in and it killed his father and put him in his family in orphanages and stuff like that. White people did that to him. Absolutely.
And I also read Roots by Alex Haley, which was also a good. I thought that was one of the. It had one of the biggest impressions on me as a young Black man. But there were other books as well, and also just.
So did they say anything about praying on their knees and forgiving white folks? And because I know I read Malcolm X never said that. So where'd you get that?
We're not talking about Malcolm X. We're talking about Martin Luther King.
I know when Martin Luther King. Do you know where?
And then towards the end.
Okay, dude. Okay. What I'm saying is, now you asked me to let you finish your points, right? And I'll let you finish your points.
Okay, go ahead.
You know where Martin Luther, because this is a rhetorical question, so it should be yes or no instead of a run-on sentence. You know where Martin Luther King got his tactics from, his nonviolent tactics from?
Yep.
Who?
I think a big influence on him was Mahatma Gandhi in India.
So why did Mahatma Gandhi, who was not a pacifist, actually use that particular tactic?
So Mahatma Gandhi used that particular tactic because he knew that he felt that if he did that, well, if you look at the Hindu religion, it's similar to Christianity. It basically it holds peace in a very high regard, and
Mm-hmm.
someone who confronts adversity without physical
Mm-hmm.
force
Mm-hmm.
will be looked upon in that religion as a very noble person. So he knew that if he went the nonviolent route, he can get a lot of support. Eventually, that's what happened.
Okay, at the British, who had the greatest amount of force to come to bear if the Indians had tried to gain their freedom by force? What do you think the outcome would have been? Would have been?
Well, essentially, they did do that in the 1870s with what was called the Indian Rebellion.
And,
What was
and
called,
what happened?
yeah, the Indian rebellions, and they, from what I know, they damn near came close to succeeding. I mean, the British slightly had the upper hand, but what I do know is that they did slaughter a lot of British officers and soldiers, and damn near drove the British out of India. And I think that if they'd have had another rebellion, um, like if they'd have had the political will to have another rebellion, I think they would have.
What do you need to fight a war, armed conflict war? What do you need?
You need, well, number one thing you need is you need leadership to
Okay,
organize.
your leadership means nothing if you don't have what?
Oh, but you need leadership. You need, of course, you need organization.
Before you even have that, what do you need to fight a war?
And then, of course, you need materials, raw
Like,
materials.
no,
Man,
before you, raw materials do you no good. Leadership do you no good. Organization does you no good if you do not have what? The basic fundamentals of fighting a war is what?
manpower.
Before manpower, what do you need?
Uh,
Come on, man, you know the answer.
Political will.
No, you need weapons.
That's the materials. That's the
No,
raw
no, no,
materials.
that's not raw material. Raw materials are the iron that you make the weapons out of. Finished goods are not raw materials.
Yeah, and the Indians had weapons.
Really? No, they
Plenty of
didn't.
weapons. Yeah.
No, they didn't.
Well, you need to realize that the majority of the British military was Indian. When you talk about what they had, what were called sepoys. These were basically Indian battalions of soldiers, usually led by British officers. Without them, the British would have lost World War II. They wouldn't have had enough troops.
That's World War II. India sued for its independence after World War II.
Yeah.
In other words, you talk about Gandhi, who used a different tactic that worked. Did it not?
Well, ultimately, what Gandhi was doing, I would say,
Answer the question. Did it work?
I would I would say no.
Why?
Gandhi's tactics alone is not what drove the British out of India. What
Okay.
drove the British out of India was the fact that the Britain went bankrupt fighting Germany in World War II, so they had to pull out of India. They didn't have a choice. If it wasn't for World War II, they'd still be in India today.
They may not. Well, that's probably true.
Churchill wanted to stay in India.
Yeah. But Gandhi's tactics knew that if you actually start a war, if you actually start a shooting war against the British will respond with what?
With their military, of course.
With their military. Churchill would have done what? Churchill would have won the day because now you have started a war and the British would have fought a war.
If Churchill would have, first of all, it wasn't really it was, first of all, you got to look at the nature of the British occupation of India. Was the fact that it wasn't truly a British occupation. It's really just Britain just kind of went into India and they just politically maneuvered and made allies with different kingdoms and stuff and then that's how they got control of India. They didn't really go into India and conquer it city by city.
They did it. Well, they did it by force, and the Indians didn't have weapons. Same way.
No,
Same
the
thing.
Indians did have weapons.
No, they didn't have weapons.
Yes, they did.
If they had weapons the same as the British, they would have repelled them.
What the Indians had is they had, as far as I know, I do know that they had I believe they. I gotta look it up, but
we'll look it up. Well, what I'm saying, we're going to speed this up a little bit. So you have a smaller force with greater weapons and greater power.
Yeah.
Against a much larger population, right?
No, but what happened was that's not.
Is that true? Is that true or not true? I'm trying to get to a point.
Basically, the British didn't even start out with their military. They started with the British East India Company and all these different trade companies that went to what is today Bangladesh, which is east of India, and they set up little trading posts.
Yes, they did.
And those were the first British people in India.
I'm trying to get somewhere with this. Okay, I'm not trying to get into Indian history. Okay, so you have a smaller, more well-armed force, and America has proven that over and over again. They did that with China against a greater population. So now in the United States, you have a smaller population of people, which are the Negro.
Okay.
Against a much better armed force with numbers, with material, with factories, with weapons.
Okay.
So for black people to try to have an armed insurrection against the white dominant society,
black people needed an armed insurrection.
For black people to go up against white folks as an armed insurrection would be what?
They're not going up against. It's not an armed insurrection.
It would have been suicide. So that's why Martin Luther King, to get his way, did what he did.
No, what Martin Luther King did is what he did was the suicidal thing, because he said, okay, I'm going to go ally with the Democrats, with the U.S. government and stuff, and we're going to see how.
Was Eisenhower a Democrat?
Eisenhower was what we considered a liberal Republican today.
Eisenhower was way more conservative as a Republican than any other Democrat or Republican ever since. He's a military man. He was conservative. Right. Extremely conservative.
Not really, because he did speak out against things like the military industrial complex, and even Eisenhower even went on record. Eisenhower was not a militarist at all. Although
whoa, wait a minute. What are you talking about?
Although he was a career soldier in general in World War II, because he had that position, he saw what warfare and militarism did to societies in Europe, and he even made the remark one time that every time a tank rolls off an assembly line, or every time a battleship gets commissioned and put into the sea, you take food out of somebody's child's mouth.
Mm-hmm. That has to do with industrial capitalism. It has nothing to do with militarism. If you understand anything about people in the military, they're extremely conservative and extremely pragmatic. It's not about profit for them, especially that high up.
Well, that depends on who you ask. That depends on the
military stopped more wars than they actually went and fought.
I won't refute that in some instances. Yeah,
but that is the reason Martin Luther King used that tactic.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. I don't think black people ever were gonna the plan for black people was to ever have some type of armed insurrection. I don't even think that's what was necessary. What was necessary was black economic empowerment, and you don't have to fire a single bullet to to achieve economic empowerment.
Okay.
Just a perfect example would be
Okay.
well, just let me this last point. Perfect example would be the Jews who first started coming to the United States in large numbers after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know it took them 4 years to reach parity and then surpass white Americans?
You know why? Why do you think that
4
is?
years.
Why do you think that is?
Just 4 years, because number one, they're very politically savvy and business savvy. So they came to America, they started their businesses, and they took control of strategic businesses, and they got into politics. So they took control of Hollywood, news media, and then they got into different areas in politics, the courts, the judges, senators, Congress people. Then they started making laws that were conducive to basically to them.
So they it just started from granny first, from scratch, with nothing, and built all this in 4 years.
Yeah. It took Jews literally 4. You can look that up, BGS. It took Jews 4 years to reach parity, and then surpass whites.
So in other words, they came from Europe with nothing.
A lot of them did.
So in other words, the Jews don't the Jewish banker, the Jewish banking system, which is the Babylonian banking system, with the Jews that had been involved with for 5,000 years, had nothing to do with it.
Now that is a good point. But I would make the argument.
So the Rothschilds and the Warburgs and all the other all the other banking houses that have been in America even before the first immigrant Jew coming from Europe, from middle America, ever came over here in the late 19th century, early 20th century, had nothing to do with it.
Oh no, the point I'm trying to make is that when the Jews came,
so in other words, the Jews just didn't come over here with nothing, dude.
No. The Jews came over here. When they come over here. No, I'm not denying their history. I'm not denying that, and they were also heavily involved in the Bank of England.
Did you ever read the story of the Rothschilds?
Yeah, absolutely, the Rothschilds and all that.
So no, how many
simple point.
Wait, no. Before you make a point,
go ahead.
How many central banks did the Rothschilds and Warburgs were involved with in Europe?
I know that they were involved with a number of central banks in Europe.
Like which ones?
Well, I know about the Bank of England,
Bank of France.
The Bank of France,
Germany, Belgium,
Germany as well.
Yeah, the Netherlands, and you have a lot of Jewish bankers in Switzerland.
Yeah, that as well. And so I'm very well aware of all that.
Those are all your major banks, plus your banking system in Russia.
Yeah, but the point I was trying to make is this, BGS, is that when the Jews came to America, they essentially played the reason they succeeded is because they immediately played the game of America.
What year was that?
Let me finish, sir.
I'm asking you a question for clarification. Can I ask for clarification?
Okay.
Can I?
Go ahead.
What year did they come over? So in other words, was it in the 18th century, the 20th century, the 19th century? Where was it?
That's a good question, but
Thank you.
Really look at the history. Jews have been involved in America. Really,
I'm asking you for the point of reference for what you're talking about in 4 years. Where did it start?
If I give a number, I'm gonna say 1700s, 1800s, all the way up to the present day.
No. So you said 4 years. You said within 4 years.
But yeah. After World War II.
Okay.
When a lot of them came over here after World War II. The Ashkenazi Jews, the ones that came from Europe and settled here, they basically reached parity with whites within 4 years and then surpassed them.
So were they the first Jews to ever come here?
There were Jews here prior to that, but Jews did not become a dominant political force in America until after the Civil.
Okay, how about all the Jewish bankers that it actually helped form the Fed? There was a Jewish banker that helped form the Fed. Benjamin Strong. He was a Jew.
Yeah, but I'm just speaking They didn't become like a demographic force till after. Yeah, there were Jews here. There were Jews in banking all over the place. But
did not the Jews start the first actual film companies in Germany before they left?
Yeah, I believe of reading that as well.
So you're saying what you're trying to tell me? Wait, hold on, whoa. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. I'm trying to get clear on what you're saying. So the Jews that you're talking about came over here with no connections, no nothing, just clothes on their back, zero connections, nothing.
The point I'm trying to make is this, BGS, is that I would make that when Jews came over here in large numbers, what they did is, unlike black people, what they did is they seized power.
Okay.
They didn't try to seize acceptance or assimilation like what you're talking about. And I think that black people in the United States would be in a much better position if they had the same mindset.
Oh, really? Okay. So hold on.
Basically playing capitalism game.
Okay, you have to shorten up your answers instead of soliloquy so we can have a conversation.
Yeah, it's the game of capitalism in America. What you come in, you get the money. What does Scarface say? You get the money, you get the power, then you get the women. Well, that's basically what. So see, what black people did is black people came and they said, okay, with the civil rights movement, and say we're not going to go for money and the power and all that. What we're going to do is we're going to beg, or we're going to politely ask white people to give us some of their money and some of their jobs and live in some of their neighborhoods instead of building these things for ourselves. And because of white guilt, you got
to shorten it up, man. You can't keep. You can make your point so I can make a counterpoint instead of making 5 points. Unless you want me to take notes. You want me to take notes?
But because of white guilt,
do you want me to take notes because you're making my 5 points?
That's just the point I'm trying to make. I mean, I've made. I just want to make that point.
Well, in other words, the Jews came over after World War II, as you put it, with nothing on their backs, no connection, nobody here to receive them, nothing. So they came over within 4 years. They got connected. They helped seize political power with judges and whatnot within 4 years. And black people that have been here for 200 years didn't.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying. Okay, what was the difference between Jews and black people in this country?
I'll tell you what the difference was. The difference was the fact that for a point immediately after slavery, black people were essentially on that path. That's why you had these successful black areas, you know, the Rosewoods, the Black Wall Streets, the Bowie, Oklahomas, the different areas where black people were thriving, and they were on their way to attaining that, but somehow they got sidetracked.
So don't just say you got sidetracked. What happened to those towns?
They're still, some of them are still there.
What happened to the towns? How come those people had to leave those towns?
People didn't leave those towns.
What happened to them? What happened to the towns?
What happened to those towns is those towns got depopulated over time because of the integration policy.
So in other words, Oklahoma
integration, black people still be in those towns.
So the movie about Rosewood and black and white people attacking that town never happened.
No, that happened. But you understand.
So all those people getting lynched never happened.
No, that did happen. You need to understand, BGS, that when those towns got razed and stuff like that, those black people were so resilient. You know, when they burnt down Rosewood, you know, those black people rebuilt it in 5 years.
My neighbor lived well, not Rosewood. My neighbor lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, absolutely.
He told me he lived there. He grew up there, so I talked to him all the time about it.
Okay.
Okay, race is the reason that people migrated. The same reason my parents migrated is because of racism. Okay, because of terroristic tactics by the cops, terroristic tactics by white folks
Okay.
that they couldn't live there anymore. They left for for places where they could actually walk the streets in peace and safe, being safe, even in their own houses.
So you're saying that Chicago, which was ran by the mafia in the 1920s, was the site of places like the St. Valentine's Day massacre, that was safer.
Were mafia people shooting Negroes in the St. Valentine's Day massacre?
Oh, they was killed. Yeah, the mafia was killing black people,
No, they weren't. They were killing each other.
extorting black people. It was
No, they weren't.
killing.
They weren't killing black people. They're killing each
You know
other.
how racist Italians are,
Hmm.
or how you know how racist history of Italians.
Did you ever grow up? Did you ever grow up in the racist South?
I've been to the South. You know, I don't consider the South. Um, how should I say it? Yeah, I've been through. My father grew up in the South.
He grew up in
Um,
Birmingham, Alabama. My old lady was born. Her parents. She was born there. She was born in Alabama. Her
okay.
mother was born in Alabama. Her father was born. They own stores. They own a store in Alabama. Okay. They
Okay.
tell me about white folks. They tell me about racism, which is the reason they left. Which is the reason
Okay, but
most of
see,
my
here's the
family left.
thing.
Which is the reason my uncle. Which is the reason my uncle, my grandmother had to take a beating by four white men because they were looking for my uncle who had to leave town.
Okay, the cops was beating on black people in
No, it wasn't.
Chicago and New York too.
It was infinitely safer than where they left. That's why they left.
Okay, you know, let me ask this: the what happened, black folks, the South were simply, and this is my interpretation, is they were victims of an incredible marketing campaign
You're
by
borging out,
him.
man. I need more bars, dude.
Hold on,
Borging out.
hold on. By an incredible
You're borging.
marketing by
You're borging out. I need more bars. In other words, you got to get closer to your router.
okay, but they black people were the victims of an incredible marketing campaign by Henry Ford and other white industrialists of the North who wanted Negroes to come up north and work cheap in their factories. And the first, and the reason I know this is because the first black people that they brought to Chicago, and they're I believe his name was Sinclair. He wrote a book about this, but the first black people that they brought to Chicago in the 1890s, they brought them there to break a strike. Okay, because the Polish and the European immigrants who worked in the meat factories there, they went on strike, and they brought in blacks from the South as scabs, and those white immigrants and stuff was lynching those black people because they felt they was going to take their jobs.
Okay, what I'm saying. Okay, you got something on?
What do you mean?
You got a speakerphone on or something?
No.
Why do I hear echo in the background?
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You're in your 20s, right? If I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Your early 20s?
Mid 20s.
Mid 20s, okay. My youngest child is 22. My daughter, she'll be 29 this year. My son is 32. Okay. I'm 58. My mother is still alive. She's 79.
Okay.
She grew up on a Louisiana sharecropping area. Okay.
Okay.
With my brother, her and all my aunts and my uncles lived under Jim Crow racism.
Okay.
When I was a little boy, we used to go visit in Jim Crow, Louisiana. We would have to watch out for the racist folks in the pickup trucks with the gun rack on the back.
Okay.
Okay, that's what they lived through. Okay, that's the stories that my grandmother told me before she died, and she lived to be 95 years. She was born in 1910. That's what my uncles tell, even the uncles that are still there. Okay, when I used to go back there in my teens, okay, I'm from California. I had a West Coast attitude, about a liberal attitude. And they
Okay.
used constantly pulling my shirt tail about how to speak to white folks even then. And this was in the 80s.
Okay.
There's a reason that these people left, and it wasn't because of jobs, it wasn't because of the marketing campaign. It's because it was far better to leave and go someplace else than to live under the terrorism that they were living under. That's why they left. If you ever read the book of Brighter Sons, you'll see countless stories about this over and over and over again. In fact, Larry Elder just gave a talk about his father, about how he escaped the South and how he never went back. I had my old lady's family was from Alabama, probably not far um, from where your father grew up. They tell me the exact same stories about why they left, and they never went back. In fact, eventually all of his family except for one son who coaches for Alabama State, coaches football for Alabama State, they all left.
Okay, well, let me ask this then.
Hmm.
If these white people were terrorizing them so much and killing them and lynching them
Hmm.
and all that, then why would they risk bodily harm and getting beat up to go eat at white-owned restaurants that did not want to go sit in at white-owned restaurants that did not want them there? To me, that sounds like they wanted the approval of their abuser or their oppressor or something. It sounds like if something was really wrong with that form of thinking.
Because as the soldiers that fought in the Civil War, in World War I and World War II, they wanted to prove to the United States of America that they were citizens just like anybody else. And it's all black people ever really wanted, was to be citizens just like everybody else. So they made demonstrations, symbolic demonstrations, by sitting in on lunch counters, going to movie theaters, going to places where they weren't wanted, and where they would cause a ruckus, cause police, where they actually would not get up or sit in the front row when they were asked to sit in the back seat.
Look, they had their own bus companies, and they could have brought in their own bus company. They did not have to. Or what they could have did is they could have put the okay, if the Montgomery bus company is going to discriminate against us, how about we put some money together and we buy the bus company and we get rid of the discrimination policy? I don't understand.
Because you didn't have the money to do it. If you had the
Yeah,
money to
yes, they
do it, then
did.
you no, they didn't.
After they bankrupted the bus company after the boycott, they could have bought it right then. They could have bought it, and they could have said, "Well, now everyone rides the bus because we own it now." They didn't want to do that.
You didn't. You did not have the right to vote. You did not have the right to to sit in on a jury. You did not have a right to the citizen laws, as far as being, still don't really, for the most part. Don't, if you get arrested, that's how come you go to jail at 10 times the rate than anybody else. It hasn't stopped.
All right, but I mean, okay, but I kind of feel that even looking in hindsight, I don't think the right to vote in the end benefited black
Did,
people because
did,
it seems that when we put these we kind of went the whole voting route, but we completely forgot
did,
about the
did you ever
economic
do you
route.
ever read a book called by slavery by another name, that described, he actually, white guy actually described the whole Jim Crow process. In if you were a vagrant and you didn't have a job, They actually have a right to arrest you,
That's
uh, put you in a chain gang, have you cut down trees or in coal mines and stuff like that, which was far worse than slavery.
okay. But the thing is that the reason there was so much unemployment and vagrancy was because black people they didn't have enough of a business mindset to employ one another.
Okay, all right, really prove that. Where you get that from?
It's proven by
No, where'd you get it from? Because you weren't there. Where'd you get it from?
it's I mean just do the research.
No. Look at what? Go ahead.
Look at the if you look at basically, okay, you had sharecropping, right? And you had sharecropping basically what black people should have done, they should have just put money together and just buy their own land, buy their own farms, and set up their own agricultural distribution networks and just employ one another. I mean, they could have done that easily.
Really? Easily.
Yeah, they could have done it.
Okay, so in other words, white people couldn't even do that for themselves.
Yeah. Yes, white people did it. Yes, they did.
No, they didn't. What do you think? What do you think the Depression was about?
The decade before the Depression, the 20s, was a boom time.
Why do you think that was? If you understand economics, why do you think that was?
Because of credit.
No,
because it was called the Roaring Twenties because
what did the Roaring Twenties? What was before the Roaring Twenties?
Before the Roaring Twenties, you had the early 1900s.
It's called World War One.
Yeah, World War One. Yeah.
So in other words, who loaned money who financed World War One?
U.S.
U.S. So once the war was over, guess what flowed back to them?
Money, exactly. Which is why you had the Roaring Twenties.
Exactly. So don't just say that we had the Roaring Twenties because all of a sudden white people decided that they wanted to have money. Where'd the money come from?
I mean, but during that period, though, we had some of our greatest black leaders, such as Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who basically was telling black people what they needed to do, which is get your money up, start your businesses, once you get your money, then you get your political power, and we could have had our own nation.
What caused the Garveyite movement? What was the impetus for it?
Basically, it was the fact that black people of America were looking for an identity, positive identity.
Come on, man. You know your history. If you know Garvey, if you know anything about Garvey, you know what the history is. What is the reason for the impetus that black people flocked to the Garvey movement?
Because they wanted their own nation. Like I said,
no. What is the impetus?
People wanted their own nation at that time.
What was the impetus for the? Come on, man. If you read this, you know your history. What was the impetus for the Garvey movement?
Like I said, black people wanted their own nation.
It was because black people and black men especially, and black business people especially, were being lynched. It was started off as an anti-lynching campaign.
Were being lynched too. So
it doesn't. We talk about black people.
Yeah, but every minority. Okay, Mormons were being lynched. Jews were being lynched.
All right. So did the Mormons and Jews? Did the Mormons and Jews join the Garveyite movement?
No, because they had their own strategies for power. The Mormons took over Utah, and then the Jews took over the banks in Hollywood.
The Mormons already had Utah. The Mormons had Utah since in the 1860s.
They solidified Utah even more
into a bank. They became a state. They didn't have to solidify it. Utah was always a Mormon state from the very beginning. It's always the Mormon state. It was the state was founded by Mormons.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is, if you know, if you study and you know your history and you know the impetus of Marcus Garvey and the reason that people followed Marcus Garvey, they didn't just follow him for nothing. People follow people when they're desperate for something. They were being lynched. It was anti-lynching campaign was happening well before Garvey. At Garvey, the Garveyite movement actually rose to power. In fact,
Okay, so
the lynching campaign was one of the reasons in 1910 that the first migration actually started.
Well, I'm gonna have to look that up because I can guarantee that if you look at agriculture in the South, as we're talking, I'll be looking this stuff up, BJ.
Okay. Well, saying if you throw out a reference, man, that I assume that you already know. I'm assuming that you already know because you're talking like you already know. You're talking like you've already researched this and it's at the tip of your tongue.
Okay, now you're saying the first Great Migration when
It started in 1910. 1910. That was the beginning of the Harlem Renaissance, when the people left the Jim Crow South and started going up north. 1910. The Great Migration there was two of them. There was one from 1910 until 1930 because I think the Great Depression kind of cut that off because and during the Depression, you couldn't migrate because people wouldn't let you into their towns. And I think the second Great Migration started after World War II, if I'm not mistaken.
Or it started right before it, because if you were a black man and you didn't want to go to war, if you had a job at a defense plant, either in Los Angeles or anywhere else, you didn't have to be drafted.
So you had two Great Migrations, right?
Yeah.
First one's in 1910, right? Look it up, man.
Okay, but
look it up. Look it up. Look it up, man. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up.
This is from YouTube. Okay, this is from YouTube. And
don't look at Wikipedia at the very least.
Wikipedia, and I'm going to quote. It says, okay, the causes were there were also factors that pulled migrants to the north, such as labor shortages in northern factories brought about by World War I, resulting in thousands of jobs in steel mills, railroads, meatpacking plants, and the automobile industry.
When did it start?
That's the point I'm trying to make, is that I'm going to make the argument that the Great Migration was more of an economic thing than it was just the fact, because if that was the case, if they wanted to leave the South, they could have left it right after slavery if they were so mad about the lynchings and stuff. I mean, why not leave right after?
Why would it was right after slavery ended, they had a Reconstruction, and Reconstruction lasted about 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And then it was taken away and reintroduced. In fact, I actually put a video up about it called the first civil rights movement, which is Reconstruction. I actually put a video up. You guys don't have to look at that stuff. So,
but yeah, I mean,
you gotta put stuff up. You guys don't even watch the stuff, and then you argue about it.
But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that Reconstruction, black people essentially, they took the political power, took economic power, but with the civil rights movement, that they didn't do that. They said, okay, we're gonna try to get political power, but we're not gonna get economic power. We see the results in the black community.
You keep saying from 1870 to 1950, How much economic power did black people gain?
So from 1870 to 1950.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking about broad-based. I'm not talking about pockets. I'm talking about broad-based. Because that should have put black people right in the middle, because black people had most of the industrial skills coming out of slavery. I would say like 90%. So in other words, so black people would have been someplace in the middle, just like the Jews, right? Or at least closer to the top, if that was the case. While you're at it, look at the go look at the see if you can find charts for the poverty rate, and go back to the 1940s and see where black people were. And then we're gonna wrap this up, man, because you're saying something, you're saying things, and so you guys always ask me for proof. You guys always ask me for data. You guys always ask me for the stuff. When you come arguing the points, you don't come with anything. You argue it, but I'm saying, okay, where is that? Where's your accuracy? Where you talk about the Garvey movement? Garvey started off as an anti-lynching campaign. There's tons and tons of data where you have actually basically writers from the North telling, because of the terrorism going down on the South, they were telling, you know, people that to actually flee from the South. Some people could, and some people were stuck. Like my grandmother, she was stuck. She had 9 kids. She had no money. Where was she going to go? She couldn't take 9 kids north to where? To do what?
Okay, now this is what I get for you. This is Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
This is the African American middle class. Okay, the rise to the middle class for African Americans throughout the 1960s, however, leveled off and began to decline in the following decades due to multiple recessions. Okay. Okay, it says It says, according to inequality.org, the median black family is actually only worth $1,700 when you deduct these durables. In contrast, the median white family holds $116,800 of wealth using the same accounting methods. So the fact that
that's now they just came out with that, and
the fact that it affirms what the point I made is that after the civil rights movement, the black community economically declined.
After the civil rights movement, the African American community declined after the civil rights movement.
Yes,
the middle class
greatly.
Okay, if you look at the poverty rates, the Great Society pushed everybody out of poverty.
The Great Society created the single mother hellholes we have today.
You pushed everybody out of poverty. People were starving.
You know Mike Tyson, right? The boxer, right?
People were starving. I put the video up where people were starving.
No, this is a direct quote from Mike Tyson. He said, because Mike Tyson grew up.
Dude, I put a documentary up talking about black people starving in the South. Okay, that's
not true. Black people did not starve in the South.
Dude, I put a documentary up from 1968 where people actually are saying that.
Where is your source that black people were starving?
It's called the video. I used to put a video called "Looking Back." You guys don't even look at this stuff, man. That's what angers me. You guys constantly debate. You don't even look at the information I actually put up. That's the very stuff that documents exactly what I'm saying. You guys never even look at it.
Show me.
It's called "Looking Back." Look up on my fucking YouTube channel. I have to show you shit, man. Look for it.
You got in the South. What channel is it on? Is it on
It's on my Itmore channel. It's called the video is called Looking Back. In fact, I had two professors call me and thank me for putting it up because they showed it to their class. I had few people say they couldn't look at it anymore because it depressed them so bad. My mother lived through that shit, man. What are you talking about?
No,
My fa-
yeah,
my
so
my father lived through that shit. What are you talking about, man? There, yes, it was always a bourgeois or middle or upper middle class in Black America. There always has been, going all the way back, even into slavery. There was a bourgeois black class. It still is. In fact, there was a book
so
called the White
you had
Bourgeoisie.
people that I'm not saying life was perfect for black people back then, but what I do know is that now this was what, the 1960s.
You talking about the video that I put up?
Yeah.
In fact, it was 1968.
Okay. Um. And but okay, you have that video, but you have to ask yourself why. What was keeping the South from economically growing as a region, so that people didn't have to live like that? What policies were going on?
That would get into, okay. Now you want to expand the conversation. Okay, since you are an economist. I assume you're an economist.
I do consider myself to be that to be one of my areas of interest.
No. Are you a trained economist? What I'm
I
asking.
consider, like I said, I consider it.
No. Not what you consider yourself. Are you a trained
I
economist, like
consider
a
it
trained doctor?
an area of interest.
No. That's not the question I asked. Are you a trained economist?
I don't think you and I, either you or well,
I didn't ask.
I know you went to school for science, right?
I went to school for chemistry.
For chemistry, so you're a scientist, right?
I am a scientist. What are you?
But you're not.
What?
But
No.
this
Actually,
conversation,
you asked me what am I? I answered. What are you?
um,
What do you go to school
um,
for?
where did I go to school? I did study economics in college.
No, what do you go? You studied. You were going to be an economist, an official economist.
Yeah, I was, but then I decided I wanted to work, so I didn't finish college.
So you know how. So you should know how to read data.
Yeah,
So go. So what I'm saying is, so in other words, if I'm talking to you, you should be able to point me to the data.
yeah, and I just showed you data that
Where?
showed
Not
African
Wikipedia. You should be able to read the
Americans
charts.
African Americans fell out of
When? When did they fall out
the
of? Start
many
falling.
African Americans fell out of the middle class,
When? When?
and then they abandoned their own businesses to go support white businesses.
Where where economically, where were the vast majority of black people economically?
Then or now?
Then were they at the top, the middle, or the bottom?
I mean, well, I mean, the poverty line though has changed over time though, so you
So
can't just say.
comparatively, where were black people?
I said the poverty level has changed.
No, it doesn't matter about the poverty line. The poverty line is just like a goal, like a goalpost. They move, but the
Exactly.
comparison, but they move for everybody. So where were black people compared to everyone else? Were they at the top, the middle, or the bottom?
You mean as a group?
As a group, yes.
At that time, black people considered at the bottom,
Okay.
and they still are to this day. So the so-called war on poverty and racial integration didn't change that.
So in other words, when they moved the poverty line and it got better for everybody, did it get better for everybody else? For black people?
It didn't get better for black people.
Really? Okay, where's your data that says that?
Okay, let me get it right now.
Because if I had known we were going to be arguing economics, I'd have went through and pulled up my charts. Because we're supposed to be arguing assimilation, not economics.
This is from the Economic Policy Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen.
No. Just give me the information. You can share it if you want to, but I don't know if you can.
Okay.
You can share it if you want to.
Okay, for African Americans, 50 years of high unemployment. In 2011, the African American unemployment rate averaged 15.8%, twice the white average of 7.9%. Okay. You can look at 1972, immediately after the civil rights movement. Black unemployment rate is and they got a whole chart. In fact, I will share the screen so everybody can see.
I want to know, but what you give me unemployment? What I ask you for?
Here's the chart, everyone. You can see.
What did I ask you for?
You asked me for data, and I'm giving.
I asked you for the poverty rate.
Poverty
rate, not unemployment. Poverty rate. Historical poverty rate. Show it to me.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question, man? Because I have this problem with my children. It's the same thing with my children.
I'll go to Black.
No. I'm gonna ask you a question. Can I ask you a question? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I have the same problem with my children. Do you guys really listen? Or you guys hear what you want to hear? Because I had this problem. I ask for one thing, you guys. My daughter does the same thing. I ask for one thing, you give me another. If I ask for water, you give me tea. I'm just curious, man, because sometimes it pisses me off with my own kids. We talk about one thing and then bring up another subject. It's like, that's not what I asked. Look up the historical poverty rate by race. You're an economist. You should know how to do research.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now. Is that I'm going to give you the information that you said you wanted, and that's this right here. Is the okay? This is blackdemographics.com. They get all the information from the U.S. Census. This is, and enlarges the history of poverty in Black America, percentage Black family poverty.
Look. Okay, what does that poverty line look? Right.
67. To to 2014. In 1967, it was 33.9% of Black families in poverty. That's still not a majority of Black people.
We only going back to when? 19 where?
67.
Did the poverty rate go up or down?
It went down slightly. It reached its lowest point in 2000, but since 2000,
according to your chart, it says the poverty rate was what, 66%, right? According to your chart,
66%.
Isn't that what your chart says? Poverty rate
right here it says 30 for Black families. It says 33.9%.
Okay, by percentage, right?
1967, 33.9%.
So where is it now? Or what did it end up as?
2014, 22.9%.
So it went down, right?
Yeah, it went down.
And that's since 1967, right? Was it 1967 or 1947? Which one is
it? It did go down.
1967 went down. What was so that's only going since 1967.
Right.
That's after basically the civil rights movement.
Okay. But like I said, you have to also couple that with unemployment. If unemployment has skyrocketed, okay.
So unemployment, if the unemployment skyrockets, would the poverty rate go back up?
No, black male unemployment has been high.
Would you think that, okay, in other words, would the poverty rate go back up if black male unemployment skyrockets?
Would the economy go back up if black
No,
male?
if would the poverty rate for black people go back up?
Well, you gotta look at the fact that a lot of people who are unemployed, they
This,
don't
this,
necessarily.
this is recorded, man. Can you answer the question?
That yeah, it's a complicated question because not everyone who's unemployed necessarily.
As a group, we're not talking about individuals. We're not picking homeless individuals from people that are working. Would the poverty rate as a group go back up if because of unemployment, high unemployment, and there's nothing else to backstop it? Would it go back up?
Yeah, black male unemployment is exorbitantly high and has been.
What I'm saying is, what are we arguing? We're not arguing employment rate, are we?
No.
What are we arguing?
Poverty.
Poverty. Look at the poverty rate.
Okay, but I would make the argument that the poverty.
The scoreboard is the scoreboard.
Have you asked yourself why the poverty rate went down?
Does it matter?
Yes, it does, because what we're talking about here, you're making the claim that the Great Society pushed pushed America out of poverty, and I believe I have data that can.
Well, then refute it. Go back to the 1950s onward.
Okay.
I don't. Man, I got tons of charts. Man, I don't feel like digging through these doggone charts just to prove one point to you. Come on, man. Because if it was about poverty, then I'd have dug up my economic charts. Because I actually had the same. My circle mates had the same goddamn argument that he was talking shit about until I showed him the chart. What did he say? He couldn't say anything because the chart is the chart.
Okay.
What's the difference between somebody that's working poor and is living in a shack than somebody that maybe is on unemployment and is actually living well, or living at a decent life? Have you ever lived in a shotgun shack as a sharecropper?
Okay, hold on. No.
No.
Nope.
No. Somebody in a housing project with running water and a toilet is living far better. That's unemployed is living far better than somebody on the South picking cotton in a hot goddamn sun for 16 hours and has an outhouse. Would you agree with that? Have you ever used an outhouse?
No.
No. It is no fun to walk over an open sewer and sit your ass on an outhouse, because I've done it on my uncle's in my uncle's neighborhood, because he lived in the South. This was in the 70s when I was 16, and I lived with him and my cousins for the summer.
Now, Mr. BGS, you are aware of the when we talk about poverty, there is a correlation between increased expenditure on social programs related to poverty and single mother households, right?
What I'm saying is the poverty rate is the poverty rate. Okay, what they did, and they admitted, Janet Yellen and all these people did, and Monahan said exactly the same thing, that while it pushed people out of poverty, it exacerbated what was going on with black people and in our culture. It exacerbated the problem because black women and black people live in a matriarchal culture where black women are not necessarily tied to us, whereas it did the opposite for white people and other folks. But that has a blend of economics and
Well,
culture. But you didn't have any more
you
starving
see that
children.
is a good thing, though. That
You,
black woman having a matriarchal structure is a good.
it's not a good or bad thing. Is that that is it? That basically on this hangout, man. I'm not going to argue my whole channel because I've argued this point before. This is about assimilation. We're not going to talk about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, it is. It's bad for us, but the thing is, you can. No, they're not masterminds. There's nobody that's perfect. They tried to solve a problem. It solved one problem and exacerbated another one.
Exactly, and that's what government does. When government gets too big, they try to solve a problem, and they exacerbate the problem, make the problem.
So what is your government supposed to do? Are they not there to
The
solve?
best thing for government to do is to do nothing, and
Really?
and
Wait, so what government? What government?
allow people to solve their own problems.
Okay, where have you seen any country or any area where there's no government?
It well, it works in situations when
No,
you
no,
have
no. Dude, can you answer a question?
and
Can
you
you
just
answer?
be honest.
Can you answer a question? Can you answer
Hold
a
on,
question?
can
No,
we?
no, 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 no. Answer. You know what, dude, dude, dude. I am tired of people doing this. If I ask you a question, answer. When you ask me a question, I answer it. Answer a question. Where have you seen that?
We're a society where there is no government.
Yes.
I didn't say that there had to be no government. I said when there's too much, when the government gets too big, when there's too much government, that's when you have a problem.
So in other words, you live in the most comfortable, richest, most successful country on the planet. It's at the top of the heap. Where else would you like to live? Where would you move to if you could?
Uh, Hong Kong or the
Really?
Philippines.
The Philippines.
Yeah.
Okay. So Philippines has a less strict
Wait,
government.
either hold on, BJS. It's either going to be Hong Kong, the Philippines, Brazil, or maybe Guyana. Like a lot
So
of
so
those four.
so the Chinese government does nothing.
No, well, Hong Kong has some is autonomous. So Hong Kong is its own thing.
Bull,
It's not
bull,
really it's
bull.
not really under China like that.
Shit. Bullshit.
Hong Kong is not autonomous.
No.
You want me to go look it up on Google?
Yeah, you can look it up if you want to.
Yeah, but Hong Kong has economic policies that allow it to grow.
In other words, because of a banking sector, the Chinese government has allowed Hong Kong certain well, they do that for all regions. They don't just do it for Hong Kong. There's certain regions they allow a certain amount of autonomy. But Hong Kong by no means does not have a strong government. You want a banker and you fuck up just like any other Chinese government, even Taiwan, they will put a bullet in the back of your head. They have an authoritarian government. The United States is very, very liberal.
No, but Hong Kong has a free market though, where anyone from around the world can go there and compete
Bullshit.
and do well. That's why so
Bullshit.
many people get rich in Hong Kong.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
I mean, you can sit there and say that.
Bullshit. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Go there and try to set up a business and see how much red tape you got to go through to set up a business.
It's actually Hong Kong is actually listed as one of the areas in the world where it's easiest to start a business.
Go there and see what kind of red tape that you have to go through as a foreigner and set up a business.
Oh, they love it when foreigners come.
Go there and try to do that. There's a very good website called Jesus, what was it called? I'm trying to remember the name. It's called Adventure China something ACP. Got to look it up. Where they actually, or then it's called ADV China, where you have two white expats that talk about doing business in China and setting up companies in China, even Hong Kong, and they explicitly said that there's a hell of a lot of red tape if you're a foreigner to set up business in China without the permission of the government. Even though they're capitalists, you have to have permission of the
China's
government to
not
do so.
really capitalist though. China's more of like a state capitalist controlled economy.
Dude, I have been studying China since 1994. Okay, I've been studying China since 1994. Probably almost as long as you've been alive. They are. That is
All
an.
right,
That's an.
now this is, I mean, I can show you the articles. This is from the Atlantic.
Go
Hong
there.
Kong,
Mm-hmm.
the most friendly city in the world.
The woo. I need
Okay,
some more
with
bars. You're borging.
okay, left to its own devices, Hong Kong has become perhaps the most important major port implementing geographical low tax and policy top three countries to do business according to the ease of doing business index. So like I said, Hong Kong, it is autonomous. It is a place where you can go and you can set up, and Hong Kong is not China. Hong Kong is its own thing.
Bullshit, man. What
I
happened
mean,
in what
you can
happened in
say
okay,
that,
what happened in 1997?
but isn't that when the British left?
What did the British do? What did the British do? They did what?
They left.
They left. What did they do, man? They
They packed their
returned.
stuff.
They
They got up and
returned.
left
They returned Hong Kong to what?
to, well, they symbolically returned it to communist China, but Hong Kong is still autonomous.
No, they're not.
They still have their own. I mean, they left to their own devices. They don't have. It's not. Hong Kong is nowhere near under the Chinese government as a Chinese province is.
Bullshit. Hong Kong is a major banking center, so the Chinese gave them some kinds of a small amount of special dispensation, but they do report to the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist government.
Okay, I understand BGS, but I mean, it's been an hour. I would love to continue the conversation.
You do this. It's
I
okay.
gotta go, man.
It's fine, but we never even argued assimilation, which is what
We
what you
can
want to
finish
talk
this
about.
off another time,
No,
man.
dude, it's okay. We don't even have to do it another time because we spent an hour. We spent an hour talking about everything, but
I gotta go though, man.
it's all right, man. You've had your say. You can do your video if you want. It is what it is. You basically have you had your say. Have you had your say? Yes or no? No, he left. Okay. Okay. Well, that is the end for all the folks listening. That is the end of City of Truth 91. He's had his say. He's been on. He jumped off. It is what it is. We're supposed to argue assimilation. We argued everything but. We argued civil rights. We argued the Great Migration. We argued the poverty rate. We argued everything else. Now he can do his own. He can do his own. He can do his own thing now. No, I gave him an opportunity to argue his point about assimilation, which we never really talked about. We never really talked about. And he had his opportunity to do what? Argue his point. Now it's up to you to see whether he argued his point or not. Anybody want to jump in for like 30 minutes? I'll drop the link, man. Since he jumped off early, I got about an hour to do. I didn't really read the comments because I was debating him. I'm sorry I didn't really pay attention to you guys because I know he wanted this public. Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, we're talking about assimilation. We're talking about a particular process. When I put out that video about assimilation, it was my opinion. It's completely my opinion, how I read the tea leaves. We never even argued about that. We argued about everything else but.
Hello?
Hello? Hey,
Hello?
what's going on?
Hey,
Yeah.
Now that video that you dropped about assimilation, I had commented on your YouTube video.
Okay.
What about the Chinese? What happened to Chinese?
Chinese
will they assimilate too?
Here, or you talking about where? You talking about here?
In America.
No, the Chinese probably wouldn't assimilate because Chinese will probably lead the globe. Why would they assimilate with the United States? What point would that be?
No, I'm talking about the people that live here.
You have already
live here.
The Chinese are called what? Model citizens, right? And
yeah.
And the Asians are the biggest marry out group in the country, right?
Yeah. Damn. God damn it. So only the black people are going to be wiped out. That's some bullshit.
No,
that's cool with them.
What I'm saying is it's not Cerulean would tell you admixture is normal.
Damn it. So
admixture is normal. That's a normal process. So in other words, if you're gonna manage, it's easier if all the people are within. I mean, you're always gonna have an economic stratification, but if all people are basically the same, they're much more easier to manage than disparate groups.
And greetings, esteemed brethren.
Hey,
what's up, sir?
Hey, what's up, Professor?
I was hoping that meat was like the community chess spot on Monopoly.
No. He wasn't going to stay on. He must have been reading the comments.
Oh man, that guy was slower than Jason Whitlock's metabolism.
Jesus. Hey, what's up with the breathing? He was like, all right,
he's trying to think on his feet. So
hey, what's up, fellas? What's up, BGS?
Hey, what's going on, Officer Charles?
I'm just
Officer Panthro.
Huh?
I am looking forward to another classic this weekend.
I'm gonna just tell you this.
He was on. Go ahead. I said it was classic shit, man. I don't know what he was drinking, but it was a classic. But I said we can't have a repeat because I kind of let him go. I kind of let you go, man.
I'm sorry. Sometimes when you drinking and grilling.
Yeah,
we were just. I'm sorry. Well, we were just talking in the chat. Anti-gravity actually weighed in. And it reminded me, the last time I was in Hong Kong was in 2002. It was still getting off its feet from when the British allowed it to gain its independence back. It was turned back over to China. And the shit he was talking about, it was like, under British rule, it would have been, that would have been plausible. But as it stands now, you're not just about to go to Hong Kong and be this mass entrepreneur businessman. For one, they're not going to let you do that because you're not going to encroach on any existing business.
No.
And the Brits still have their claws into Hong Kong, and they do not like the waters being shaken up.
No.
Because it's still a kind of a sensitive
Yeah,
it's kind of it's a kind of a sensitive and delicate economy over there.
yeah. Yeah, I mean the Chinese, the communist Chinese, a lot because they're a major banking center, and they need the banking knowledge from Hong Kong. They give them a certain dispensation to kind of a free hand, but I'm saying that only goes so far.
Now
Yeah.
I got a question about Brazil, because Brazil they've been going to war because I guess they put all their money in the oil and the oil's not working. What's going to happen to Brazil, and also what's going to happen to Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, man, I suspect because of the embarrassment all over the world, that Puerto Rico will get rebuilt. That I would suspect. So,
Puerto Rico is going to get rebuilt, but it is going to take a massive loan,
which they can't pay back already.
Right. It's gonna take a massive amount of money, and it's come at a really bad time too, considering Houston has to be rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of areas that were affected in the South by the hurricanes have to be rebuilt. And we just don't have enough money to really kind of go around and rebuild it all.
I would suspect if things go right, Puerto Rico has an opportunity to get out from under the rock that they've been under. Even though in other words, there's a silver lining to that cloud.
Oh yeah, because chaos is always a ladder. If they can get their politicians to stop playing or stop bullshitting, they can they have a chance to make some new alliances. So, they can bring in resources from elsewhere, but especially if they want to do some quid pro quo. With other areas that were affected by the hurricane.
Because the United States has two choices: either you come in and rebuild them like any other part of the United States, or you're going to have to give them their independence. They do not want the Puerto Ricans to fall into the hands of the Chinese.
Oh damn!
And the Chinese is an eager lender.
Yeah, with all those American dollars that they still have sloshing around that they can't spend.
Damn, Chinese. Well, I think them racial slurs gonna come back. Them Japs, them Chinks.
Yeah, be careful of your new masters, man. You're gonna get pimp slapped by the new pimp.
Man, shit, you gonna go from George Washington to like Fei Long or some shit. God damn.
Hit me with the ling ling.
Pretty much.
Hit you with the ding a ling. Oh, ling ling, don't do that.
No. They used to become too short to hung low. They have the biggest dick on the planet now.
When a pimp slaps you, he slapped you for a reason.
Yeah,
White folks slap because it's Thursday.
I've been charging Chinese since 1994. Yes, sir.
You know what, BGS? I already got my Chinese name set up. Him So Hung.
Yeah, well, they have a name for you, man, called God Damn.
Talking about the black snake, black snake.
And as big as his ass is, God Damn. Sumo.
The movie called The One-Eyed Snake.
Yeah.
I'm tired of people saying I'm a big guy. I'm working with these fucking monsters out here, man.
You tired of it? What are you gonna do about it, man?
I don't know. All right.
You better drink some soy milk like the government doing. Make everybody a bitch.
Become a vegan, man. Get down to you're 5'10", get down to 170 pounds, man.
Nah, that's gonna people can't lose weight. That we got diseases and shit.
Don't drink the soy milk unless you're trying to become impotent.
That's true. It's too much. Soy milk has too much mimicking estrogen. Yeah.
Too much estrogen in it. And last time I don't want lactating titties.
That's a he bitch right there.
I'm still a man, damn it. I'm still a
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was wondering, what do you think? I feel like the Chinese can't be number one because they're culturally, the American culture. It's willing to assimilate or take from other cultures, but even my Chinese friends that live in America, they're unwilling to even eat American food. They have to eat their own food. So do you think that that's kind of like a factor in
No.
You know, a world
No.
domination.
No.
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 I mean, you don't have
So in
to.
other words, so then why has basically the Europeans already signed over the world to China already? So what are you talking? So what are you saying?
Wait, I thought you said the Muslims took that over Europe.
No, basically the European banks and the European countries basically
European
for the world, the infrastructure, the architecture of China.
I'll put it like this: if it wasn't for China, you know, a lot of your central banks would have already
collapsed,
run insolvent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot. No, go ahead. Sir.
Oh no, I was done.
Go ahead, Edward.
No, I was just gonna say, man, a lot of, I've been in, some new Facebook groups as well. Shout out to Cerulean, you've been in there too. And in some of the questions asked, and I'm not talking about the brother that just asked the question, but people gotta ask. I'm asking this question because in a emotional thing, or I'm gonna ask because I want an actual logical answer. Because my thing is, when has assimilation ever been a requirement of control? Like, it's not a requirement. It's just kind of like a way. It's like a way of doing something, but you can skin that cat multiple different ways.
Let me ask you a question, okay? I'm going to make you the manager of the United States. Okay. Yes, you.
Oh,
would it be easier to manage a group of people that are basically all the same, or have a whole bunch of different factions?
Depends. It depends on how you want to manage it.
Really?
Well, I'll put it like this. You always want to, I would say, implant your ideological opposition into populations, because it is easier to control a bunch of smaller groups than it is to control one massive group. That's the reason why all of the two-party system exists.
So how do you explain the Chinese, which is like 99% Han?
Well, they have done a better job of socializing their people than America does.
Exactly. The reason America has done so is because look at how many disparate groups, German tribes that were there before Germany was formed.
Yeah.
I want to ask. So when America come as one, will there still be like gangs, or will it just cease to exist?
But there will always be criminals, because that is an economic situation. It has nothing to do with culture. There's criminals in every culture. There's actually criminals in every economic class.
Exactly. You know why? Because some people just don't want the government in their cut. That's the problem.
In other words, as long as there's a dollar in doing something illegal, because most crime is economic. If Officer Charles can agree, he might disagree because he does it for a living. Would you agree most crimes are economic?
I mean, all crimes are economic. I mean, you wouldn't have a drug cartel. You wouldn't have drugs unless it made money.
Unless it made money, exactly.
I mean, if you trace the
only crime I'll say is maybe rape and murder.
Yeah, which is personal.
Yeah. I mean, if you trace the money, you'll always find that the money is the precursor to all crime. I mean, even most crimes. I mean, I would say 90%. Even getting down into domestic violence. What is domestic violence a result of? Someone getting emasculated or feeling emasculated about their economic situation.
So what if UBI,
which is the number one leader to intermarriage violence?
So what if UBI came up? Would violence and crimes go up?
It's hard to say because it's never been tried before.
Yeah, this is new territory.
New territory. Yeah, it never ever in human history has this ever been tried. Period.
Except TV shows and movies.
TV shows and movies, they don't even explain it. Okay, because it's not a UBI. It's a different economic system. But we have no idea whether UBI is going to work or not. The only reason that's why I put it up. People say, well, They're doing it for a reason. They're doing it for a reason because they're out of options. They're not doing it because.
I mean, it's not the best It's not the best place to eat dinner, I guess.
What I'm saying
it's kind of the same point you're trying to make to City of Truth about the Great Society, which rose America out of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was something that hadn't been tried yet. No other culture in the history of humans has ever attempted to fix a broken culture. And the first time it was tried was under LBJ.
Yeah.
Did it work?
No, because what has happened is because the welfare state, which was only meant to be a temporary upliftment for social stability, when it went unchecked, they broke the apparatus that allowed upward mobility.
Well, feminism. Well, basically, if you look at the book Freedom Is Not Enough, he actually says that what Moynihan actually wanted to do was an economic jobs program for black men to actually force a matriarchal system into a patriarchal system, so they will be compatible with the rest of the United States. And that he said there was two reasons. I think I've said this before. There's two reasons that he said. In fact, I played the video. I might have to post it again because people aren't getting it. Post his whole description of his book. He said there was two reasons. The one was the Watch riot, which LBJ lost his Dixiecrat support, his Southern Dixiecrat support, Democratic support. That's one reason. And the second thing is three things: that the anti-war riots in 1968, and then actually putting white women as a disadvantaged class, a civil rights class. White women took 83% of the jobs that were supposed to go to black men. Under the
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, in fact, I didn't just say it. What's his name? Tim Wise said it is a sisterhood. Is a sisterhood. I forget what's the name of the sisterhood. I'll look it up, man. But in other words,
now,
go ahead.
I don't know if you answered this, but how come? Oh, you made a video. I watched all your videos, but I don't remember. But how come the government doesn't just say, you know, F this? We're gonna cut feminists off. We're gonna do whatever we can do to move out feminists.
Because
by any means necessary.
Because one is because Janet Yellen says to put the worms back into the can after you already broke the culture probably would not work. In fact, it would cause probably more pain than it would save. In other words, trying to force women back into that can. Now that you've socialized them not to go back into the can would be rough. Number two, men, you've held this social program so long to get men to actually accept their roles back 40, 50 years ago. They probably wouldn't, because now men have to taste of freedom. I don't have to get married. I don't have to raise children. I don't have to put up with this shit. In other words, I don't care if they'll never starve. So one, you wouldn't have the women to accept their roles. And number two, you wouldn't have men to actually come back and accept these women back as wives back in the kitchen and whatnot. Because they've been socialized not to.
Well, most of them can't cook, though.
What I'm saying is, that's okay. I mean, did I put up the article or actually read it from the book? I might have to do it from the book. The reason I don't do this stuff because y'all don't look at this shit no way. That's what
I look at all your videos. I watch all your videos, man. I'm fascinated by it.
He asked me where was the proof that black people were starving in the South in the 60s?
I remember that video.
Well, my thing is this dude brought up the Census Bureau, which before 2016 took census every 10 years. Mm-hmm. So the raw numbers didn't even reflect in the 67 or was it the 68 census that he put up there? Mm-hmm. It didn't even reflect the actual level of poverty. And this is what Thomas M. Shapiro and Sandy Darity are find out through their research, is that we are actually poorer, and we're actually poorer before the freaking census actually took place. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
You know, what I'm saying is, because I had this argument with one of my circle mates because he said that the Great Society and civil rights actually did nothing for black folks. I said, this is bullshit. And he said, prove it. I said, and I showed him the chart of the poverty rate going back to 1950. The poverty rate dropped by 2/3 from 1950 to the 1960s, and did it for everybody. In other words, a rising tide does raise all boats. We're still at the bottom. Okay.
Yes, until around 1972, 1973.
When it gets leveled off. Yeah.
Yeah, when it started leveling off.
Yeah. I mean, that's because you went off the gold standard, and the gold standard, and basically America was basically insolvent for about 10 years until basically what's his name? What is the economist? The Fed chairman.
Which economist?
No, the Fed chairman.
Bernanke?
Not Bernanke, the Fed chairman in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s. Oh, good grief. Volcker actually got your dollar back on track because he did two things. He actually raised the interest. I don't know, you guys probably weren't alive, don't remember. The interest rates in the late 70s, early 80s was like 20%. In other words,
I remember. How you doing?
Yeah, you remember, man. Remember stagflation in the 70s?
Sure do.
And the big rise of and then because we went off the dollar, we had the oil shocks in two times in the 70s, and then Volcker under Jimmy Carter, starting in 1979, he started to raise the interest rates to actually bring the dollar back into
yes.
There was a whole lot of pain between 1971 and 19.
Oh, okay, so that's what created the economy boom under Reagan.
Well, there's two things that created the economy boom, and this is the dirty trick. Okay, one is that that because of stagflation, that you had stagnant wages, you had inflation because of the unmoored dollar. The dollar was actually off its moors because of what they did in 1970 when they forced off the gold standard. So what Volcker did was he brought money and credits back into the country by doing what? Raising interest rates to 20%. So you have basically the safest country in the world raising its interest rate 20%. Guess what they brought in? Attracted a lot of foreign money, right?
Mm-hmm.
It stabilized your dollar. And then the second thing that we're actually suffering from it right now is that what Reagan did, he took the $4 or $5 trillion in the that was in the Social Security Trust Fund. They allowed him to do it, and he actually took that money out and replaced those with Treasury bonds. So now, basically, go ahead.
I was gonna say, now how come when with John F. Kennedy, he tried to move the dollar to the gold, would that have helped us, or would that have hurt us?
The dollar was already on the gold standard in that when Kennedy.
Oh,
if I can jump in.
Go ahead.
Thank you. How y'all doing?
Hey, I'm a fan, man. I've been enjoying your work, man.
Thank you. I appreciate same. Back to you, sir.
I've been enjoying your work, man. I'm trying to if you don't mind, man, and some of these stuff I'm gonna actually share so you can get some more views and stuff like that.
Okay,
man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Because you go in depth, man. You're a reporter, so you go in depth.
Yeah, I try to. Once the ink runs through your veins, it just never comes out. never. You have to shoot me so it'll bleed out.
Okay.
But anyway, as I recall, as far as JFK, Executive Order 11110 was designed to create, as I recall, United States. Actual United States currency that would and move our current, basically what we got, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. BGS, we're basically forced to use as our currency debt-based notes issued by a foreign central bank that.
No. We don't. It's a local central bank. It's not a foreign central bank.
Okay, sorry. I mean, I thought it was owned by the folks. Yeah.
No. Basically, what the people get right is that it is a private corporation. by the banks. The Fed is there actually not to control monetary policy in the United States. They're there to help monetary policy in the United States. They're there to control, basically keep the banks stable.
Okay.
That's what they were there
lender
for.
Of last resort.
Well, the lender of last. Basically, people keep saying that the banks were stable for before the Fed. That's bullshit. After 1909, the last money panic, basically all the banks.
Before the Fed, banking was decentralized.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you have a Fed now.
Yeah.
Well, because you had a overinflation of you had an overinflation of the money supply, which your decentralized banks couldn't keep up with.
Yeah. In other words, if you have fractional reserve banking, a bank could do whatever it wanted, and he kept having these money panics because you have a group of them that would overlend or have their fractional reserve rate too high, and would bust, and it would start taking the whole system down. So at the last time the bankers got together, in fact, they say it in there's a very Liam I forget the name of the dude. He wrote a book. He actually talked about that the bankers actually wrecked the world. In other words, how these central bankers actually came about, not just here, but over in Europe too, and how they came together to actually fix or try to fix what was going on in the after World War I in the 20s, and it actually didn't work. But that's what the Fed was actually built there for. And there's a lot of stuff that went on behind the scenes that could have had a reason about the 1930s crash. They said it was overinflation of dollars, but also to form the Bank of International Settlement, because a lot of your World War I debts coming from Europe couldn't be paid from Germany and in France. They sent gold over to the Bank of International Settlement from the United States Treasury to actually set up that bank so they could facilitate loans with payments back to the United States so they could get their money. There was probably another factor in the crash just beside the stock markets, but they don't talk about that one. They don't talk about that one.
Yeah, probably because it's kind of messy.
Yeah, like they don't talk about why we went off the gold standard in 1971. They don't talk about that either. You know,
yeah, because that's a messy situation.
It's a messy situation. In fact, that's like I tell you to read Gold, Dollars, and Power. If you read Gold, Dollars, and Power, it's very obvious why the United States and Nixon took them off the gold standard. In fact, it was the same reason that I think he called it. There's a book. The dude that actually wrote the paper. He's an economist professor in Missouri. Whose name is escaping me right now. He actually wrote the plan for the United States to go off the gold standard under Nixon, and they wanted to know the effect of basically letting the dollar float by itself. And he actually wrote the plan. He actually wrote a book called, I think it was called Global Capitalism. I have to look the book up. I'll put the book in the notes, man. But he actually wrote the note. He actually wrote the plan. Go ahead. And he said the same
probably
thing.
answer this because I just got off a shift. What was the reason why we got off the gold standard?
Because de Gaulle and France forced you. There's two reasons, really. One was the Vietnam War. Okay. 2 was NATO. 3 was that they were trying to save the British pound because the British pound was getting ready to go underneath water.
Damn.
And then France, de Gaulle didn't like the United States business coming up, the dollar coming up buying European businesses and dominating the world. So de Gaulle tried to do what French always do, to try to force you off the gold standard. So de Gaulle demanded. Hold on a second. De Gaulle demanded instead of getting his payments in dollars, he wanted to convert all the dollars that he had into gold, and United States had already lost 3/4 of its gold by NATO and the war and trying to save the British pound. They lost 3/4 of the gold, and Nixon said, "You know what? We're not giving over the last 25."
Yeah, give me more bars.
We're not giving. No, yeah, huh? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, there you go.
Okay. He was saying that he wasn't going to give up his last 25% of his gold. He wasn't. In other words, instead of being forced off the gold standard, he took himself off the gold standard because they were going to lose all the gold. Yeah.
So basically, fuck your on my own terms.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. In fact, that's why I'm trying to remember the economist's name that actually wrote the plan. He said, "How could we get away with letting the currency flow free and getting off the gold standard?" And the reason that they could is number one is the United States. Well, there's three reasons. One is that the United States still then had the biggest manufacturing base. You know, they still had the four things that you need to actually be get seniorage as far as a currency. That's one. Two, you didn't have anybody to actually build another financial architecture around. And three, the United States would have pulled all the troops out, NATO troops out of Europe, and Europe would have gone back to fighting. So everybody backed off.
So,
if that makes sense to you guys.
So why? This is way completely off. But how come America killed Marcus Garvey? Because I remember you was talking with him.
No, he never got. I don't think Marcus Garvey was killed by the United States. He died, but he wasn't killed. He got deported back to Jamaica. Yeah, they exiled.
That was a long ongoing ideological war between
Du Bois.
Du Bois and Garvey.
Yeah.
Because Du Bois felt that he was classically educated in a European school, that it was his right to lead the black community.
Yeah, and plus he had the difference between independence and assimilation.
That too.
Yeah,
it's the same. I mean, and you know, I need to go see your video on assimilation, but my thing is I understand why you say what you say, but the reality of the situation is most black people don't come to it for that reason. They come to assimilation for very different reasons. So to me, there's a difference between like what the policy is and what the climate is, and then the way black people just say, "Fuck it, we're not going to spend our dollar." Like the white ice is colder bullshit. You can still believe what you're saying is true as far as what the policy, and I do believe what the policy is, and then that does not necessarily mean you have to spend your money with white people every chance you get.
No, you're not supposed to. Hopefully, you wouldn't. But the thing is, the thing is, when you're behind the wall, you have to, right? You don't have no choice but to spend dollars with black people. You don't have any choice but to do business with each other, right? Even though you're poor, you have no choice. What happens when the gate is lifted?
Well, when the gate is lifted, I understand that, but Jews, for instance, Jews don't do that. Like Jews still spend money, obviously, in the society, but they don't compartmentalize their own stuff. There's a difference.
That's because Jews are not a broken culture.
There's a racial.
Jews do business with other white people. They really do.
I get what you're saying, but here's the thing. Like, there's
Can I tell you something?
Let him finish though, Cerulean. Let him finish.
The black dollar passes through each other zero. No other group does that, and other groups are more assimilated. So there's no excuse for the zero.
There is an excuse. There's not an excuse. There's a reason. There's no excuse for doing it, but there's a reason why black people do it, and that's what black people miss. Go ahead, Cerulean.
Yeah, you know, when I do political re-education, I always have to tell people and give them a disclaimer that we have to be careful when comparing ourselves to other groups. One, if we're going to bring up the Jews, you got to understand, the Jews created what you know as white identity. Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, you can look him up. He invented white identity. He's the one who organized what is known as white identity. Secondly, is all these other groups have something that black Americans don't have. And that's a lot of things that they have that we don't have. For instance, Jews have their own currency that competes with the U.S. dollar in Israel. Koreans have their own competing currency. Chinese have their own competing currency. Mexicans, other foreign nationals like Nigerians, Kenyans, so forth and so on, have their own competing currency. You are inseparably tied to the American economy. And because you are on the currently the lowest rung of society, it behooves of you to help this country actually remain stabilized. I mean, this is a warfare 101. If you find yourself in a position against an enemy that seems to be insurmountable, you go with the flow of the program until you find an opening.
Yeah.
Or better yet, as I tell people, if you, by military warfare and also science, if you do not command the land and sea and the air, you must infiltrate it from within and make it your own.
Yeah, as we try to do. As you try to turn. You got to remember that. Okay, go ahead, Edwin, and I'll talk. Go ahead.
All I was going to say before I'm not going to hop off before I mute up, is at that point, what are we talking about? Because, like, what's the point of Dr. Clark Anderson at all? Like, why does his shit is useless then, if that's what we're going to just say.
Because the thing is, it's not, what's wrong with, okay, I'm going to be blunt. What's wrong with niggas is not going on with their pockets or their bodies, it's going on with their fucking heads.
Yep.
I understand that, and I understand the culture aspect, but what I'm saying is, I feel like
do you understand when a friend of mine who's been in the conscious community, Jesus, for at least 60 years, man, you know, because she came from Alabama and she's been in the black community, conscious community, business community for 60 years. I explained the doll test to her as an analyst, and she said, she thought about it. She said, oh shit. The doll test. What is it? Everybody thinks the doll test is about racism, and it's not. Cerulli can tell you the doll test is not about racism. The doll test is
to gauge how well they've been able to subvert you,
to program you.
Yep.
It's not the fact that black people choose the white doll. It's that all the children choose the white doll.
Well, people are in denial about a lot of different things, and that's kind of like a symptom of like being led by emotion, which is being led by your women.
They have been miseducated, because what I say on this channel, and I said it in my I don't know if you guys listened to it. What I said in my ramble, I said for all people that are pro-black or pro-positive black or whatever it is, or nation building, you need to click off this video because you're not gonna like what I say.
Oh yeah, the simulation video. Yeah, go ahead, go back to Africa.
What I'm saying is that if you know if it's gonna bring you down, I said beforehand. I said it's my opinion. What I'm getting ready to say, you're not gonna like if you fall in that group. I can't say that in the conscious community. Okay, I can't say this. They'll chase me out of the building.
But they're not serious as far as
huh?
The absolute truth, then you're not as serious as you think you are. Just like the black church thinks they're a lot more serious than they really are. When it comes down to it, they're not serious. They're just another.
You guys accept me now because you have observed me over more than a year. I put up videos, I have hangouts, and you guys have tested me, prodded me, observed me, checked my information over a year. So now you have been not socialized, you have been accustomed to accepting what I said. So it's not shocking to you. Okay, when I first come out, anybody that's new, the first time they hear me, man, it's stunning to them because I'm basically fucking up your whole worldview and what you believe and what you've been taught, even by black folks.
Yeah. Here for a second.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on Officer Faulkner's point about infiltration. I don't know how y'all feel about this, what I'm about to say, but I feel like white supremacy, you might not be able to kill it entirely, but we collectively can render it chronically ill.
You don't. It's our. The thing is, it's what I tell you. What I'm going to tell you is also shocking to black people.
Mm-hmm.
But white supremacy has been chronically ill for quite some time. It's basically on its deathbed.
Okay.
Now you still
We
gonna
can
have
kill it.
you're gonna still have no. You're gonna still have. Why would you kill it? Okay, if you kill it and you live inside its body.
I'll put it in these terms.
Okay.
Okay. The what you know is white supremacy. Not only is it a dying cancer patient already on his deathbed, but China is smoking a cigar in the room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What's some cognac?
Huh? Excuse me?
With some cognac.
And cognac.
With some cognac, huh? What kind of cognac, officer?
Yeah, America has always had an assimilationist, I guess, imperative.
Okay.
But the Jews and Asians are not giving in.
Right now,
one time.
Especially for black folk. I mean, if you really think about it, that's what the public school system is.
Yeah,
that's why we can't eradicate. That's why we got white folks saying crazy stuff like taking a knee is a slap against a veteran. That kind of, they were programmed to think that.
I'm a veteran, and I don't really care if you stand up and take a knee.
Yeah, most veterans don't feel that way. Most
exactly.
Yeah, but the thing that's what they've been saying.
So this is just what they call political posturing.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to appear to be hypocritical. They don't want the mass public to know that it's taking a back seat.
Yeah.
Okay. They want to continue this false image that America is the greatest country in the world. And see, and if America actually plays its role properly, it actually does have the potential to be among one of the greatest countries in the world in this next century.
Yeah, well, yeah. In other words, the Chinese do not want the America to split up or go away because it's part of the fabric. And in fact, he said that to.
The thing is, we benefit from China just as much as China benefits from us.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about China, if you ever know any street dudes that sold drugs, you never want to get rid of your best fiends.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't.
They can't because if they unplug the United States from the final architecture, that's a massive piece of a building, and the building will collapse. They can't do that. They actually try to keep the United States afloat against its better judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back on that assimilation question.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't get our the fact that we have not gotten our economic game together makes it pretty impossible for us to resist assimilation.
Well, that and the
integration.
Let
me just finish. I think I'll just speak for myself. Growing up, I had to deal with that, or I understood that was the question: am I going to integrate or am I going to assimilate? And if you don't have your money right, it's like it's one thing. Yeah, I want to go to work. I don't mind going to work with white folks, and I want to come home to my self-segregated area. Okay. But that's hard to pull off if you don't have the money to be able to sustain being apart.
Segregation was always false. You were already, from the time that you stepped off the boat, integrated into the American society. You've never been away from it. You've been integrated since the very first day. Now, assimilation and becoming white, like the Jews, the Irish, the Italians, the Germans, and on and on and on. Now, that is a different topic. You've been integrated from the first day.
But in terms of the becoming white, a lot of us African Americans we're white people in blackface.
True.
And it's pretty hard to not become a white person in blackface if you're not conscious of the plan to make you into a white person.
What I'm saying, people says it's evil, but every country does it.
Oh yeah. I mean, every power group would do it. I would do it.
I ain't one. We gotta get rid.
One time.
I think that people believe this idea that America really intends for you to be free and independent and your own, without becoming, part of white and pro-white.
Really, black people have never wanted to be free and have their own independent nation. They never wanted that. Black people never wanted that.
It's a love affair with white people in this country, man.
No. The thing is, the thing is that you help build the country, you're part of the fabric of it. So what black people have always wanted, they wanted their place in the United States just like everybody else. That's what they want. They always wanted that.
Now, BGS, you talk about admixture, basically mixed biracial people, right? Now,
well, that's not what admixture actually is. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead,
well, who?
I want to hear his.
Go ahead. You respond. Finish what you're saying, E.
But you saying like black and white supposed to come together, but let's say black and white do come together and we pop out biracial people. How are we going to get rid of the feminists, or how is America going to get rid of feminism?
That has nothing to do with feminism. Feminism already is a failed policy. They can't prop it up anymore. It's a failed policy.
So it's going to die off.
It's already dying. The only thing is that it takes time for their social conditioning to kind of wash off.
Yeah, I mean, feminism really started dying back in the 70s when white women started leaving it en masse, when they realized that white men weren't creating any new jobs for them. So they were told to take the jobs that were just black men, which is why sex was added to the affirmative action bill. There's now a white woman, which was a minority population of the white population, could be added to it, which means that they got your jobs that were intended for black men.
Yeah. In other words, that's the only reason feminism is kept alive, because they're paid. It pays them to keep it alive.
And right now, it's the feminist idealism is still lingering, but for the most part, it's illegitimized.
Yeah, it's been socialized through the educational. That's why I said feminists knew better how to actually get the indoctrination forward through the educational system. They actually said that. They went through the educational system first, not for the economic piece. And you give me the child, I'll give you the man.
But I'll tell you this. This is a testament to how short-sighted the idea of white supremacy has been overall. China has been playing the long game, and so-called white supremacy has been playing the short game for short, quick gains.
Yeah, because they started with way. In fact, that's why I suggest if you want to really get an insight into the Chinese mindset, read Kissinger's book on China, because the Chinese government considered him to be an honorary Chinese. He understands. He's one Westerner that understands them better than
anybody else.
Read his book on China. You will understand the Chinese mindset. The Wei Yun policy was started back in 1898, and learn what you can learn from these people. Adopt their technology until the point where you can actually use their technology to subvert them. That's what they did over the period of 120 years. It took them 120 years to do it. Almost 7 generations. Black folks need to think about 7 generations.
That's right.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, we got to stop thinking for the weekend. This month I went back to doing my classes, and first week out, the founders calling everybody like, "Who the fuck are you?" They were all at the club. They were all trying to
gotta find some pussy. Yeah,
they're trying to take some tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Charles.
I said that's the same thing I tell people every day. You see a bunch of these young black men out there. They come out there and they think bi-weekly. If you're lucky, can't find any work. Well, make some work. How we do that? Oh, Jesus. I mean,
Yeah,
you already
well,
got.
that's one of the successes of the school system as well. You know, to kind of cut off your ability to think bidirectionally. You know, multi-directionally.
Right.
You've been taught basically what to think and not how to think,
Mm-hmm.
and
Let me
that.
ask you something, Pete. Yes,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
cerulean. You didn't finish.
Oh no, I'm finished.
No, I just have to ask you a question. You know, I want to get totally off subject, but I do want to get into the area of child raising since we on the school subject.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever noticed that, and you have your son compared to your daughter, so you would know better than I would.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had more of a teacher calling you due to a fact that they can't control or communicate with your son more than your daughters?
Oh yeah, yeah, all the time.
Because I'm starting to get that shit now, and it's like
Yeah.
bugging living fuck out of me, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, I want to just take the teacher, which I'm thinking about doing tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
picking her up, sitting her down in a seat, and I'll be like, look, is he being disrespectful? Because if he's disrespectful, I'm going to get in his ass and correct it.
Mm-hmm.
But is he doing something like, is he fidgety? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I had to explain to a coworker of mine
Mm-hmm.
today, like, you do know boys and girls learn differently. And they're not made to sit down like girls are.
You start first. You go in and ask her what her credentials are for teaching your child,
Mm-hmm.
and does she aware that there's a different strategy for teaching boys and girls?
I would even go so far as to ask her if she has any children of her own and where do they go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's bad at 35. I've noticed this.
If her children don't go to school with your kids, I'd take your kids out of that school.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, if I'm significant, not saying somebody younger than me can't teach my child,
Mm-hmm.
but how much experience do you have with young children?
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at it like, well, he's being smart and he's telling me he doesn't want to do it. I said, did you ever ask the question why? And it's not, and I'm just saying, if he's disrespectful, that's one thing.
Yeah.
I will correct that. But have you ever asked the reason why?
Well, the first thing I get across to my children is that that the interacting with the teacher on that level is my problem, not theirs.
Yes. And
The
that's
teacher,
the first thing.
if the teacher directs you to do something, whether you agree with it or not, you do it. And if you have a problem with what you did, you come home and you report to me because I am the boss of that teacher, not you. And I get when I walk into a classroom, the teacher is my employee.
Yeah.
That's my state employee because if my child wasn't there, you wouldn't have a job. You're my employee. And you're there to teach my child what he's supposed to learn. So tell me, so basically we need to get on the same page of what my child needs to learn and how he needs to learn it and what the problems are so we can correct the behavior. First, I correct my child. Saying that I don't want to do it when the teacher gives you direction, unless it's something that's going to be harmful to you or dangerous to you, you shut the fuck up and do what you're told. If there's a problem with the teacher, you come home and let me know, then I will get in the teacher's ass.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I told him today. Like, first of all, is that teacher an adult? Yes. First of all, you don't disrespect adults. And I told him plainly as that. And I just want to, and tomorrow I'm going to just drop in unannounced.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to speak to the teachers of the aftercare and everybody. And I'm just like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember I went through this last school season. Oh, your son's been in a fight. And I took my slow ass time. I actually went to finish cleaning out my refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
Took my slow ass time, and I looked at the principal, who was Dr. I forget what her name is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if she's there this year. And I'm like, so what went on? So I let her say, well, your son was in a karate class, and he was fighting with the student hit him, and the student. I said, so wait a minute. So what was the teacher doing while they were fighting? Well, he was on his cell phone. Ah.
Nah.
I said, so, and I looked at the guy and I said, first of all, are you supposed to be on your phone during school hours? Because I'm pretty sure that phone conversation was not an emergency. 2, you're in a martial arts class. And I told the principal like this, and if people think I'm rude for saying it, I said, ma'am, my son has a pair of balls and he has testosterone, and I do not teach him to be a victim.
Yeah.
If someone hits him, I don't tell him to hit him. I tell him to knock the fuck out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Because that way he would take three times to do it again.
Yeah, I tell them same thing. I tell them the same thing. I tell them that because I had my son and I had my girlfriend's son, because he was a big guy, and I said he has the permission to defend himself at all costs, and if you're uncomfortable with that, then we need to go down to the school board and talk about it.
And she was like, well, our policy, I said, first of all, does your policy override the United States Constitution that says I have the rights of, life, liberties, and the pursuit of happiness? Because if you threaten, that's against my life.
You need some more bars, Officer Charles. We're boring out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
And even going so far as to say, if you know that there is a problem student that is putting my child's life in danger, or a risk, or presents a risk to my child, I think we need to talk about litigation.
Yeah. I'll tell you what to do, Officer Charles. Okay. When you go in there, you ask for the email address of the teacher, the vice principal, and the principal, and also the your school board, your school board liaison for the school. And once you do that, I said every time there's an incident, there will be an email sent out to all four of you guys. So not only the teacher knows, the principal knows, but the school board knows. So I have a record, because they have to have 5 or 6 copies by law of all official emails sent to any government agency, right? So in case there's a suspension, any kind of disciplinary action, you can say, you can pull up the emails. Okay, this has been an ongoing problem, and these particular people that have been notified that there was a problem have not addressed it.
No, and you know what?
That will back them off, huh?
Yeah, but they depend on parents, and I'm not trying to put it on sisters, but they depend on parents that just gonna be like, you don't need to cause trouble and whatever.
No, I don't believe that shit.
I've been in that situation where I got into a fight when I was in middle school, and this white kid punched me in my fucking face in front of everybody.
Do you whip his ass?
No, hold on, I'm getting to that. So
all right.
No, hold on. Yes, to answer your question, it did end in me whooping his ass. But this was bothering me. He called himself bullying me, and I was just dealing with it because really, the biggest bully was my mom, and I didn't want to deal with her shit when I got home because I knew I'd get blamed for it. And I was letting him bother me. And I'm always that nigga that people think they can fuck with. I'm that black kid that they think they can take a shot at. Okay. So anyway, I told the teacher. And I told the teacher, this is a teacher that I had for a couple of years now, not because I failed, because she kept moving up with me, even though she said she is whatever. But I told her, I said, this dude's bothering me, and I mean, if he doesn't stop, I'm gonna do something about it. And everybody was clowning me because I was snitching. So I went to lunch, and then he said, "Go beat my ass." I leave. I was right behind the camera, right going into the building, and he pulled. I swear, it was like a movie. I've told the story before. He pulled everybody with him, and then he punched me in my face, and then I broke his nose, and then I on the ground. I started kicking him in his head, and then what was fucked up is his mom had the fucking nerve. When we got in the office, he tried to say he's white. He tried to say he was special needs. I was like, we special needs, yet he's in the honors class with me. You better, just because he's taking medication does not mean he's special needs. And the point is, the teacher knew that, yet the teacher decided not to do anything. And then my mom was mad at me. They tried to do something to me, but it was on video that he instigated it, so they couldn't do anything. Yeah. And my mom beat my ass, and she wanted me to apologize to him. And that was the first time I called my mom out of her name. I said, I'm not gonna tell you what I said, but I told her I'm not apologizing to that motherfucker. So you just gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, I fucked his ass up.
You know what's funny, Edward? I had a similar story like that with my son. Because he was at a summer camp, and the summer camp, that's the reason why I believe in actually going to camps you pay for. Because you get what you pay for, as the old saying goes. And this one kid, Anthony, I hated that little bad motherfucker. I swear to God, you could tell some kids who were just going down a fucked up path, and you could see it from his mother. Put it to you this way: I should have not have been at the age of 29. I should not have been one of the oldest parents there.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
And no, I was actually the oldest parent there, 29 years old at the time. And she was like bragging on a trip. This kid used to pester my son. And we were at a school trip where this is how sad it was. I was the only father there. So this kid would just pesterize it. She would say nothing. And he would push my son. And I saw that. And I separated him. And I pulled my son to the side. I said, son, there's few times in a life where you give it the okay to do something. Fuck him up. And it just fuck him up. Like literally. I mean UFC his ass. So next time he swung and hit my son just went like, I mean, he went totally like X-Men Wolverine style on his ass. And the mom was like, oh my God, they're fighting. So I'm just walking over there. Oh no, oh, they're fighting. Oh, I'm sorry. That for him to get off of, and I'm looking at the chick, and the reason why I lost a lot of respect for a lot of these young parents, a lot of these young mothers especially, is because number one, she's bragging when my son's mother went to pick him up from school. Oh, well, Charles's mom, she knows how I get down because I fight my son's father right in front of the school, and I'm like, classless. Like, you know what you just.
We need some more bars off of Charles.
Like, I just looked.
You're breaking up.
Like,
no.
Oh, man, I need to talk. Yeah. And I'm just like, a lot of it is because of the home training, man. It's what you said in the disintegration of the black society is due to the disintegration of the black family.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. And the thing is, you know, I'm in a group called Cerulean knows. It's a group that Marcus pulled me, Nothing But Real Talk, and we got this chick in there, Miss Ebony. By the way, I put a post of 2 pictures. One of Laura when she was during Family Matters, during the shows running in Urkel, and then another like more recent picture of Jalil White and the play, and I put in there, "This is karma," and everybody loves that post. But anyway,
I saw that. That was hilarious.
Ebony decides that she wants to put a post. She's got 2 posts. One talk about you black men like to talk about what's wrong, but you all wouldn't want to talk about, you know, the good things, the positive. I said, first of all, this is a no cupcakey. This is not the cupcake.
That's right.
But then I also said, then she did another post talking about with all these black women, you know, they look like they're like, you know, Molly types, right? Talking about, you know, black girl magic, act like you know. Now she knows who's generally in the group. This is a group in O'Shea, Jap Run, and a couple other people, Marcus. So she knows who's in the group, knows the demographics of the group. And then I put in there, I said, I got a question. What is the purpose of you putting this post? What is the purpose behind it? Like, that's question number 1. Question number 2 is black girl magic another thing? And I think another thing is, the next time you want to put a post that's positivity, why don't you put a post that has black women with black men and stop putting just these fucking posts of black women by themselves like they doing something? Because what's funny is she called herself putting up classy black women, but the bitches look like Cardi B's, just more sophisticated. They look like sophisticated. And I'm like, because one had like her breast kind of showing, like the cut was all the way down, even below her breast line. And like these are the fact that you put this picture and this is your definition of classy black women says everything I need to know about you. And all you're trying to do, because she was one of these women. They were talking about, you know, could you really find, you know, the black woman? Could you really handle a black woman that is, if you found a black woman that hit every fucking thing that you want? And I'm like, it's all about you getting mad that black men are saying anything. So to you, black men don't have a right to say shit. That's where that bullshit is coming from. And it's so obvious with her posts. I haven't thrashed her yet, but I've thought about it. But I want to be nice. But I've come close. But anyway, well, I'll just my point I'm tired. I'm tired of, you know, a lot of people think I come at black women hard. It's not that I come at black women hard. I'm just tired of black women saying, don't ignore the majority problem and pay attention to the minority of folks is doing what they're supposed to do. I would if the black community wasn't fucked up. So you have to trace where the problem lies. And of course, there's a lot of things black men do. But everybody, we all know niggas ain't shit. Nobody disputes it. So I mean, people act like there's a debate whether niggas ain't shit. But when we talk about these females, all of a sudden we want to get where it ain't about the niggas ain't shit. It ain't about these females. It's about manhood. It's about if you were a man, that these women would do what the fuck they supposed to do. And that shit gets on my damn nerves. And Ron Wills, shout out to Ron Wills, he did a video called talking about denying black men's humanity. And real talk, Will said it. He said a lot of black men deny the black men's humanity because they're not socialized to really hold women accountable.
No.
Other races don't play that shit. They hold the men accountable, but the women hold the females accountable. The men don't even have to. So they say you're fucking up with them.
Well, see, you know, I get what you're saying. You know, this goes back to what I always say: organization. If you organize the men, you'll have no problem with the women.
Yeah, but it's like a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah, it's a chicken and the egg thing. But all you need to do is worry about organizing the men. Even if women are doing what the fuck they're supposed to be doing, just we're organizing the men.
So really, I'm
gonna
finish, but I will tell you why I disagree with that. I agree. Yeah.
Yo, jump ship.
Well, yeah, that's yeah.
I'm saying this. I'm saying this because this is the prime opportune time for black men specifically to be organized. And when I say organized, I mean not just in lip service. I don't mean just in ideology. I mean putting your fucking money where your goddamn mouth is.
Yes.
And this is the problem. Like, just like just the other day, man, I got some alarming news. One of my favorite guys here in Minnesota. He's running for mayor. You haven't heard me speak of him because it's a very sensitive thing. But he's got the endorsement of our governor, who is a Plutarch. Okay. Now, where do we want a guy like that who is your candidate, who you put your money behind? You want him next to the Plutarch, one who has access to the pipelines that bring in the money. That's where you want your guy.
Yeah.
And this is why you want to organize the men specifically. Now, this brother's name is Melvin Carter, and I told niggas already. Look, man, if this brother does not get this election. If you think Larry Elder is a goddamn coon, motherfuckers ain't seen shit yet.
Till Dr. Grace was decides.
Well, okay, so
I'm telling you, see, because no, in seriousness, you have to be organized in order to bring change. You cannot just be organized. Say, this is what we want. Now you're talking. That's idealism. You have to be organized. You have to put your feet to the ground. You have to be a fucking pre-colonial Indian and put your fucking face to the ground, face to the dirt, so you can hear horses galloping.
I get what
you cannot be disorganized and bring change to anything.
I understand, but you have to organize around an idea first. And the reality,
and this is what reason why I say an organization, the idea itself is the leader. This is how you have these decentralized leadership, and you have to get involved. Step one is to have that big idea. Step two is to bring in people that share that idea. Step three is to find a central location to hash out these ideas and create new ideas toward achieving that end. Step three is to put the fucking money up. So, because you have to have a campaign in order to bring about organization. Organization is not a overnight thing. It's not a thing that's may even happen in a minute, Edward. Go ahead, Edward. It may take you a couple of weeks. It may take you a couple of months. But if you put the work in, it will happen.
Yeah,
This
it
is
will
what we
happen.
are. This is what we are finding out in the organization that I work with.
Go
Is
ahead,
that
Edward.
it's not an instant overnight process. It's not going to be a viral YouTube hit. This is actual work that has to be put in.
All right, Breeze Ruling, let him respond.
So I want to ask you this. Then this will bring home my point. What is the idea do you think black men should organize around? What is the one that you have in mind? But I have an answer. I want you to say what you think first.
My answer would be to put all of your money towards one end, and that is communally raising young boys specifically.
Correct.
I would agree.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. Now, my idea is that the
This also
matriarchy.
means paying for putting your monies together so you can pay community organizers that do things like summer camp, for instance. So you got to
Okay.
put your money where your mouth is. You can't feed kids over summer camp with hopes and prayers and dreams.
Nah, that's
Okay.
true.
So I'll say this in two ways.
Why do you
A
hold on a second? Why you guys keep asking me for the link and I've dropped it about 15 times? Scroll up.
Yeah. I'll say it in kind of like a light side and a dark side of the force, but it's both sides of the force. I like what you said, and I agree with that. The dark side, no, the light side of that is if the black community is going to be saved or another one is going to be built, it will be built by black men and it will have to be built by black boys. That's number one. You pretty much kind of said that. Number two, which is the flip side of that, is the matriarchy is the single biggest threat to that. Antagonistic force. Right.
Okay.
How
And
they're broken poor.
Okay.
In the art of war.
Hold on a second, Cerulli. There's other people that want to go in. If you guys don't have anything to say at the moment, let somebody somebody that's not talking, please drop off. Let somebody else in. Unless you got something to say. If you don't have anything, if you want to have something to say, please speak up because other people want to get in and say something.
I wanted to say one thing, but I'm gonna get off.
No, go ahead.
I would just like to thank Charles Faulkner, Officer Charles Faulkner, for that entertaining male hangout with him and Edward Anderson.
It was entertaining. It wasn't productive, but it was entertaining.
Was I that bad?
Yeah,
you were that bad. Yeah, you were that bad. But it was funny as hell.
That shit come on. When I was talking to my uncles, that's why I didn't really get mad because
I know. Yeah.
Uncles.
When you drop your ribs, you said, "God damn
it!" Funniest shit ever.
Yeah. That's why I let it go.
God damn it! Pass me another set of those ribs.
That's how come I didn't let you bring it back up after about 3 hours. I didn't let you bring it back up. We weren't gonna go back into it.
It's cool. Yeah. It was
Okay,
cool. I mean,
but you guys were saying that
I was drinking. Those are some damn good ribs too, man.
he was hot too when he dropped his ribs. You know, you got to wash them bad boys off and put them back on the grill.
But and I'm not saying, and the smart thing though is I'm not saying that from a promotional standpoint that you lead with what I said with the matriarchy thing. I'm not saying that. It's what you said. And that understanding that I just said, you said, but on the back end, the men have to have an implied understanding that if this is the goal, these are going to be certain people that are in our way.
I'm gonna put it to you this way. This is a strategy that I learned from a great man named Courtney.
Okay, you're gonna have to mute your feed. Okay, you're gonna have to. The other way.
All right.
This is a strategy that I learned from a great man in Milwaukee named Brother Anthony Courtney. Okay, we talk about the matriarchy is an obstacle. How do we remove the obstacle of?
We got to speed this up because I'm not going to be on for 8 hours tonight, y'all.
How do we remove that obstacle? Is in the art of war is you have to go with the flow until you find an opening. Now, what does this matriarchy have in its possession that we require to make this a realization? They have the children. They have boy children that they have no problem getting off of their hands, if for nothing, to have a de facto babysitter. And this is when the time that you get to imprint your ideology on these children, on these young boys.
Yeah, that's why I want a separation of the schools. I said that it does work. It has worked. It's been shown to work, but the women know that if they do that, they're going to give up control of their boys, which is something.
I want to respond. Hey, I want to respond real quick, BGS to us.
Okay, well, Edward, you're talking right in the middle of Edward. So Edward, you got a couple of minutes, and then Ward can jump in.
Well, what I would say is, let's assume we all have everybody on here because they generally agree, but let's assume we have this ideology. The one thing that I have submitted to the table that the manosphere is kind of rejected, but I don't give a damn because I know I'm right.
Go ahead.
Is I have said that the best way to deal with women is to use other women. And what you have to do is, let's say first you find women that already have your ideology, and there are women that agree with us more than they don't. It's a Rebecca Lynn Pope. I have a list of women, but a Rebecca Lynn Pope, an April Mason, a Lori Carter. No, I can go name after name. But my point is, these are women that are married, or even women that are divorced, but believe in marriage and believe in a man leading. And these are the women we have to say, we have to give Black women a choice, saying that there is a choice. You can be like, this woman is supposedly has it all, that she has her own degree, she has her own career, but she also has a husband by which
you have to make it quicker because I'm not going to be on for 8 hours tonight. We ain't got.
Or I got you. Or you can be like the Cardi B's, these women that stay there independent, but they're lonely as fuck when they get older. These are the choices, and you have to get women to actually put those choices out there. This is like what Rebecca Lynn Pope said.
So the thing is, what we're going to have to. I agree with Cerulean. Going to have to bypass women by not going to the women. Go to the people that fund these women. If you want your communities to actually run right, get these Black boys in check, where they're not going to be a danger to you or society, you're going to have to do something different with your educational system. It doesn't make sense to throw down $150,000 to $200,000 to educate these kids and get nothing out of it.
And this is why shit. I'm in my own community. I'm walking around and asking motherfuckers who you voting for. You're voting for Melvin Carter, who is trying to get more Black men into the school board to get them more Black teachers, Black male teachers specifically, hired, especially in the magnet schools. You see, these are real changes, real practical changes.
I would love to tell Black women that the Black boys are holding your girls back. You should separate them, but they won't go for that trick. Go ahead.
Hey, listen, I wanted to respond to Cerulean real quick, but listen, I agree with you.
Respond to Cerulean. Don't get into another point.
No, I wanted to agree with Edward real quick. Listen, Cerulean, listen, you spoke about Black men organizing, but at the same time, the other hangout, you said Black men are victims. Listen, you can't have it both ways. A Black man who thinks he's a victim can't organize and be a productive dude that's going to go at the system. Now, at the same time, I'm going to say,
ask you this. Let me ask you this, War.
No. Let me get my minutes. Can I get my time? Can I get my time?
War. Yeah. If you start with his attitude.
See, you always protect Cerulean. You always protect Cerulean.
War.
Dude, you protect BGS.
Oh, that's crazy.
Hold on a second. Everybody back up for a second, man.
Everybody mute up.
Everybody mute up.
Let me get my minutes.
War. Everybody mute up. What's going on in the back with all that? What's going on in the car? The car, man.
War
just dipped.
War saw the ass weapon come.
Hey,
BGF.
Yes, sir.
War must have saw you taking your belt off, man.
What I'm saying, man, why do we have to go through this every time he's on, dude?
Because he's an Frank right. That's why.
Can I ask you guys a question? Do I give you guys ample chances to talk? I mean, am I being unreasonable? Am I being unreasonable?
My thing is my thing is I have to interrupt him when he gets into the deflection tactics.
But you know how he is.
You said you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. But you really got to let him finish his statement. Otherwise, it's going to wind up into a clusterfuck. Because you're pulling the goddamn pin out of the grenade. You know that when you do that shit. I'm trying to keep the grenade going. I was trying to be reasonable with it so he can get his point across.
Damn.
Go ahead, sir. You're making a lot of noise. Go make your point. Sir, go ahead and make your point.
Hey man, go make your point, man. Damn, you getting a lot.
Well, I wasn't really trying to make no point. I just wanted to ask a question about you was talking about the gold standard and the bank. I thought the Federal Reserve. I thought the Federal Reserve was I thought that was a foreign bank.
No, it's locally. No, it's all the it's about 4 or 5 banks in the United States that came together and funded the Federal Reserve.
Okay, I didn't know that.
No, it's not. They're not foreign bankers. I mean, you have foreign bankers.
Well, there was a couple of international investors that helped realize it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but they had local banks in the United States. It wasn't like they didn't have banking interest in the United States already.
Hey, okay. And I got another question about the silver and gold. Should we go ahead and keep buying that? Because y'all was mentioning something about the Chinese was going to come in and take over. I got, my father was saying something about that.
No, they're not going to take over the United States. They're going to take over the global control of the global financial architecture. They're not taking over any individual country. They don't have to.
Okay. So you think? Go
ahead. The gold and silver is there for emergencies. In other words, gold and silver will work when nothing else does. So you all have gold and silver as that backup. It's a strategic metal. It's not there to make money for you.
My father was telling me to go ahead and keep getting that gold and silver, so I'm stacking that up. But I don't know. He was telling me that if the Chinese come over and start buying up properties and shit, that's the way to go.
They already are. Gold is not going to help you in that matter.
Right, that's what I was trying to tell him.
Somebody driving a semi-truck?
He's in a truck, so I'm going to get his question out until while he's on, because he got a lot of noise. So I'm answering this question.
Can I get a minute?
Well, right after, I wanted him to finish his questions because he's driving, making a lot of noise. Then I'll get to you.
Yeah, that's
all right,
thank you.
That's all you had?
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll come back on the Saturday night hangout. I'll go into greater depth. Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, okay. Yes. I mean, the point that he brought before, like black men need to take control and start teaching black boys. Mm-hmm. The issue is there that black women, they're not going to let you have access to black boys.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't have any money to educate their children. So what Cerulean is saying, bypass them, go to the people with the money and deal with them instead of dealing with each individual black woman, because they don't want. They have to send their children, like he was just saying, they have to send their children somewhere because they can't educate them and they don't want to babysit them for 8 to 10 hours. So in other words, if you can convince the school board and the white school system to actually either separate the black boys or basically put in more black male teachers and give them a better program, then they will get what they need. In other words, women don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I got you. This real quick? I got you.
Hold on, Tony. Go ahead, Tony.
That's true. Mm-hmm. But educating black boys and making black boys stronger isn't in the interest of any of these parties. It's not even in the interest of the school board.
Well, it used to not be, but it is now, because they can't afford to lock up these black boys anymore because it's costing them too much fucking money. So they're going to have to educate them and make them. It behooves them to make them productive citizens.
Yes, and the people that are in the state level that open funds to schools and all of that, they will be looking for just as much of a solution as black women will be.
Mm-hmm. Black women aren't looking for a solution.
Is so important, because if you can even go beyond going to the school board directly and just come together as black men and create the programs yourself. After school program for about 4 to 6 hours, you can do that.
Black women are not looking for a solution.
Black women are basically lazy, okay, and they're looking for a way to keep their kids busy.
And that is why you shock them into involvement by getting the kids that are wanting to be willing participants of these programs, and they'll start wanting to introduce their friends to it, and then it'll eventually grow. And then what happens is you'll have a parent shock where they're seeing what these kids are getting interested in, because you've already created the program, you've already gone beyond the stage of going to the investors and the money holders that create those programs after school, and done it on your own, while Black women will be looking for the solutions just as much as the people that are financing them. This is simple.
Hey, well, Tony, let him finish, and then you.
This is a simple. It's a simple warfare strategy. I mean, this is a soft subversion in a way.
Okay, go ahead, Tony.
Okay, the thing is, I'm saying Black women are not looking for a solution, and they're going to oppose everything you do. It's not in their best interest. It's not in their best interest for Black men to get together. It's not in anybody's best interest for Black men to get together.
I understand what you're saying, and see, this is why I said on the Hangout on Saturday. Okay, Black women do not know the level of economic danger that they are in. This is the reason why they don't see it as a urgent necessity to do this now.
Yeah, but they will.
I know.
Can I get in here real quick?
No, you can't. No, you cannot right now until I put you in.
See, this is how you operate, man. You want to protect.
Okay, everybody mute up. Everybody mute up. Everybody mute up.
Muting.
Everybody mute up. Everybody mute up except for War. This is the last time I'm going to tell you, man.
I do want to get on your soapbox.
No. Well, bye.
Yo, you gonna really keep coming back and
I'm gonna eject you next time. You can't come back next time.
Man, what the hell? I'll explain it to him since I guess he missed his mind all today. But I'll just put it this way, because he gonna say, well, you said on the last hangout that Black men were victims. If you went to school as a kid or whatever, even as an adult, and you out here, you got knocked the fuck out. You got knocked the fuck out at such a point you couldn't get back up and fucking hit the attacker, because by the time you came to, the attacker was gone and out of sight. What does that make you?
Makes you a
fucking victim. It's not. I say that Black men are victims, not because I want them to wallow in some kind of fucking self-loathing, because I want to. This is the level of danger Black people are in. I want to see the necessity and the urgency for them to fucking do this shit.
Why is there revolutions in certain countries? Because the victims rise up and try to fight back. That's what happens.
It's the bully mentality.
It's the bully mentality.
Yeah, but
until you face that bully down, you're always going to be a victim to that bully.
The bully. Go ahead, Edwin, and then Tony.
Okay, Tony, I got a question for you. So you're saying that under any circumstances, we shouldn't as a group deal with Black women. Are you saying? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you need to give Black women a timeout.
Okay,
that's idealism.
Okay, so my question is, do you follow the SYBSM philosophy?
I watch his videos, but I don't know if I fully follow it. But go ahead.
What is your solution for the Black community?
I don't have a full solution, but I know, like, at this point in time, we have to give Black women a timeout,
you don't get to do that. Edward, hold on a second, man. Hold on a second. Calm down. If you disagree with the man, you don't think that it'll work. You can't just say I disagree with him. You have to say why that you have.
Okay, I'll tell him why. I'll tell him, because the point is that the first thing is that whenever you guys try to work with Black women and work with them, they take your patience and your compromising as a sense of power.
Okay.
No other group of men is going to put up with what we put up with.
Okay.
They're not going to do it.
So to get your community right, what do you suggest?
Give them a timeout for a couple of generations and then come back. That's what you got to do.
You won't have a
couple of generations.
You have a community, man.
No,
No,
can I make a rebuttal to him?
Let me ask.
No.
Well, you know.
Officer, hold on, Tony.
Okay.
Officer Charles first.
Okay. Let me ask you something. If you're playing a sport, right, and this is your first day playing, do you expect to be championship caliber the first time out?
No.
You said no, right?
He said no.
Right.
So, are you going to keep working on your craft to put yourself in a position to become championship material?
Yes.
So that's the same shit you got to do with the black community. And to piggyback off of Cerulean's point, black women will willingly give their kids as long as they know two things they're doing right. They're in a safe environment and they got free time to themselves.
That's true.
I've never seen a black woman who will not give her child to anybody as long as that child's in a safe environment. Hell, they'll pay you
sometimes
to put their children in a safe environment. If not, the government will.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing they do with football coaching, wrestling coaching, basketball camp, summer camp, school. So
okay.
To that. Hold up. When you listen to that, remember this. You got to start from somewhere. If it comes through Boy Scout, summer school, Saturday school, you need to get them boys. Because guess what? If you wait a couple of generations, you're not going to have black people anymore.
That's true. You don't have that time. Go ahead, okay. Cerulean.
And that's an excellent point that you made, Officer Charles, because what he's basically saying is take a couple of seasons off and then come back and expect the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Well, clarify what you're saying.
Okay, because if you have a team and there's a basketball team, there's 12 of you here working. Now you're trying to get to the championship, but there's someone else on your team that's being funded by your opposing team. It's not going to work. They're going to come every meeting you have. They're going to come and mess it up and say all kinds of crap and do all kinds of things. Charles,
let him finish.
Yeah, they're going to say all kinds of things, come in there and mess it up. Like even when black men come together. You know, I went to a seminar the other day where black men come together, and guess who walks in? A black woman feminist and tries to take over the show. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like, come on, man. It won't stop. They won't stop.
No, it's ruling. After Tony Edward, he hasn't had a chance to talk. So finish up, Tony.
Yes, they just will not stop. You know what? They actually get off. They actually get off on opposing you.
They do.
That's what that's what it is. And black women right now in this society, they have a lot of psychological problems, and they're caught in a mental loop where they just keep on looping over and over and over again. You got to get yourself out of that.
But we don't have two generations to waste, because otherwise there won't be a black community. Go ahead, Edward. Go ahead, Edward.
So my point, I get what you're saying, Officer Charles Cerulean, but my overall point was this, to me asking you these questions. The reality is you're going to have degrees or a couple of degrees of separation with certain black men. There are certain black men, for instance, let me ask you this, Tony. If there was let's say there was a school in your local area that had nothing but black boys, nothing, and this school was performing well. Let's say it was like a school that Dr. Steve Perry made. And they said, look, we need donations for X, Y, and Z because we want to be mainly black male funded as well as the government. If they came to you asking for donations, I'm asking you, I'm not going to ask you if you would or wouldn't. Would you consider funding a school like that? If it was already established, already going, it already proved that it was working.
I would do it. Not only would I do it, but I bring I do IT for a living. I bring black boys over to my apartment at my house.
Okay.
And I teach them myself.
Mm-hmm. So okay, and I'm glad.
Okay. And this is a good bone structure
what he just mentioned. He brings them directly with it in his presence. Now the idea is for you to go out and find like-minded men and then bring more kids in, and then find a bigger central location so you can teach them all. And put you guys' money together to create programs. For instance, for one for maybe an after-school education, one for after-school sports program, a chess league, a book reading club.
We only got 30 more minutes, guys. So basically, speed it up if you guys want to get something across.
That's true, but sorry.
I know you buying it, coming at the bit, Edward, but let him respond.
So I understand that, but when I bring the black boys over to my house, their moms, all that stuff, when those mothers figure out the black boys are getting some sort of intelligence and they're learning something, the black mothers no longer like me anymore.
Yeah, but you have to do it. Like me. As long as you're coming, you have to do it anyway. Go ahead, Edward.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking these questions, I'm trying not to preach all the time and actually try to
come on, speed it up, Edward. Speed it up.
But what I'm saying is, my point is, the ruling, you're gonna be like the type of person who's gonna actually establish a beachhead, and just because it's guys like Tony to saying I'm not establishing no beachhead does not mean they can't be valued in the next phase of development. So you're gonna have a lot of black men. MGTOW Universe was like this, where they're like, I'm not fucking with building this shit, because what building that shit always turns into, black people always turns into black women. So unless you establish something that is absolutely clear that I can look, feel, see, and touch, and see a track record, even a small one, of black men with black boys, I'm not fucking with it. And there's a lot of black men that are like that. Valuable
for very good reason. That's like the man said, black women, if black women are involved and they see black boys changing, it's not necessarily that they're not learning a skill. They don't mind them learning a skill, but when they have an attitude change, and they're not controllable, then black women get upset.
And a lot of times I feel like with this conversation with Cerulean Officer Charles, I understand exactly what you're talking about, and you all are not wrong. But like, this is one thing when you talk about organizing. Like, I feel like a lot of times Tony is not being heard. So it's kind of like, and I do this too. I'm not gonna act like I don't do this shit because I'm bad with it.
All right, come on, Edward. Come on, get to the point.
Well, my point is, Tony is not somebody saying he's not gonna do shit, fuck it, but he's saying these are the terms by which I will get involved, and we're gonna have to start learning how to respect that from people and stop saying, okay, well, you're wrong because we're not gonna do it completely our way. Because what Tony is saying is perfectly plausible. That's all I'm saying.
Well, okay, Cerulean and then Officer Charles.
No, go ahead, Officer Charles.
Well, you got to learn from the old trial and error. Guess what? I know everybody's not going to agree with me. So what? Is that going to cause me to just stop in my tracks when I know that I have a goal? Hell no. If you want to do it your way, do it your way. But at the same time, I'm glad that you're taking people to become the king. I do my same when I have such time given to me. But at the same time, if I know that black women kind of the bane of my existence, not all, but too damn many. If they're going to be confrontational to what I do, guess what? Like you said about the people on the team, do what the teams do. I mean, cut the fuck out. You saw what happened when they did with Kaepernick. Cut them out. And guess what? You're going to be begging. Once you see the progress of young black men, black women are going to come. They're going to come to you. And they're going to beg to be part of your society.
We got to shorten it up so people can have a chance to talk, because, like I said, we only got about 20 more minutes. Okay.
I want
to on the Cerulean, and then
okay. Now, when it comes, I am a firm believer in bringing back industrial education. One of the things that you can do, like at the organization that I work with, I order these books, and it's a book that is in mass production still, a book called How to Fix Damn Near Everything by Franklin Peterson. Now, this is a do-it-yourself book that teaches little small tricks of the trade, like the old shade tree mechanics back in the day. This was their early Reader's Digest for the do-it-yourself everyday man. That is a book that is a great treasure of my collection. Okay, and I give that book to every single boy that goes through our program.
Okay.
That
Can I
is the
say
type
something?
of things. And what happens is you are creating the type of boys that the next generation of women can fall in line behind, because you got to stop thinking of these here and now women. You got to think generations ahead, the next generation, the generation after that. You start with that one seed, and then you create the type of plant man that you want.
Yeah. There's 7 steps. There's 7 steps to it, and 7 generations that complete it. So, E, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, if you're dealing with you're dealing with these short term, just looking for I want everything now type of females, I'm telling you, these females will give you their children willingly. Some of them already do. We work with them all the time.
Okay, go ahead.
And they get back is a boy that they can be proud of, that actually becomes a benefit to their mother and not a damn burden because she's taking all this wakeful neglect.
Okay.
Or
Go
gotta
ahead.
pay bail money.
That was
Go ahead. E, go ahead.
That was my type of thing. If I were to become mayor, I would probably do something like that too. I'd probably be like, hey, you black women only have 2 choices: either gentrification or you allow black men to raise your kids, because the government is running out of money, and I don't want Jacksonville becoming the next Chicago. That's just not something I want.
I think the switch is going to happen because it's not just black boys; it's also white boys, and basically getting tired of funding dysfunction from women raising their children. So I think that will happen.
All right.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead, jump in, man. You got about. Go ahead. It's your turn.
I'm just gonna give a minute. I'm not saying to abandon the black community. I'm a black man. I was once a black boy. You know what I mean? And my father was in my life the whole entire time, so he never left. So I'm not saying to abandon the black community, but we have to get the black boy situation straight before you go on to black women. You have to deal with the immediate issue.
I agree.
You have to deal with you have to deal with the immediate issue right in front. You can't deal with 5 things at one time. You got to focus on one issue. And if you're gonna marry a black woman, you can find an international black woman or something like that. But we're dealing with a black woman here.
We're all in the.
I'll say good night.
Okay. Okay. Good night.
It's tomorrow.
See you. Will you coming to the women's hangout tomorrow, or well, you're always there, so we'll see you tomorrow night.
I'll be there. I'll probably bring a friend with me.
Is she coming? Is she coming back to the women's hangout?
she said.
What was her experience being in the hangout? What did she say?
She loved it. And Classic Ruby loves her.
Oh, did she? Okay, I was wondering because I thought I was gonna make sure I wasn't too rude with her because she was my guest.
She loved it. She loved it. She gives it back too. And she said that tomorrow she's taking her dad out because it's his birthday. So she'll probably be on what time you start?
Well, it'll be 7:30 Pacific, so it's like 10:30 your time. So she'll probably be home.
So I'll just let her know the details, and she'll probably be back on. It's gonna be hilarious. Don't worry. I won't be that drunk tomorrow.
Oh yeah, well see the thing. She's polite, she's logical, and she's not overly emotional, which is something I like. Just like Classic Ruby, she's not overly emotional, and she's a good sport. So she didn't mind me telling her to put her big girl's panties on. She actually came in. I was surprised. But yeah,
I poke at her all the time.
Okay. All right.
See you later tonight.
All right. See you later on tonight. Okay. Tony, I don't think anybody disagrees with you. We have to find a way of getting hold of the boys. I said that. Cerulean said that. Officer Charles, even E, everybody agrees with you on that. It's just a matter of how.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a matter of how. And nobody's saying that you're wrong. What we're saying, we can't wait 2 generations. That's the only thing we disagreed on.
Well, I mean, for the women here, but there's black people all over the world, so you can get a black person from anywhere.
Yeah, but I'm saying is,
you know what I mean?
As long as Pookie and Ray Ray as long as the factory is still spitting out defective cars that we have to constantly recall. You like that one, Cerulean?
Yes.
In fact, I use that in an online program for black women. They did not like that. Well, they couldn't dispute it, but they did not like it. They did not like when I said that.
there's no debunking it. You know, that took me about 2 years of abstract to write around to really get into the manufacturing process and how cars go from the drawing board to the floor
to the
dealer. It was like, holy shit! It just seemed the cross reference, you know.
Yeah. That's the whole thing, you know. As long as they keep spitting out defective cars from the factory, keep having to recall them, it says sooner or later you have to deal with the factory, and that's what we're saying. Because if we don't put our finger in the dike, literally put our finger in the dike, we're going to get overwhelmed by the defective products that keep coming out every year.
Yep. Yeah. So by dealing with black women overseas, you're putting your finger in the dike.
Well, you're opening up another factory, but the thing is, the factory that's still going on, is still spitting out defective.
Yeah, still spitting out these, and you don't have the ability to close the plant down.
Yeah.
Niggas are outbreeding us, basically.
No, what I'm saying is, they don't have to outbreed you. There's more of them. There's more. In other words, there's more machines going on spitting those defective kids out than you can actually deal with. So you have to find a way of actually fixing the factory and recalling the cars at the same time, which is, I'm not saying that's going to be easy feat. It might not even be possible, but we got to try.
My thing is just don't deal with them. Don't deal with them. Eventually, and naturally, nature will take care of itself.
Not always. Not always, man. If you look at civilizations, man, not always.
You said nature eventually corrects itself.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the term invasive species?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got to look it up.
It be just
steelhead trout, certain bugs and ladybugs. What is it called? Africanized bees, South American ants. You can go on and on and on.
It be just.
Yes, sir.
Is there a women's hangout today, or is it tomorrow?
It'll be. Where are you, man?
I'm on Friday.
I mean, it's still Friday for you. Well, it's not Friday for anybody. It's Friday, so it's tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm on Florida, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's you should be asleep, man.
Yeah. I'm staying up because of you, man.
I know. I'm staying up because of y'all. I'm getting ready to close it out in about 15 minutes because it was only supposed to be here for basically for City of Truth, but he got
he fell, man. He fell.
Basically, his balls crawled up into his gut, and he bounced out. I mean, if you're gonna debate, because he said I will debate you, and I said, like I said, John Henrik Clark says, I only debate my equals. Now,
all others are teach.
Yeah. Even though Cerulean probably knows more about social science than I do, we don't debate because when he's right, he's right. There's nothing to debate about.
It's nothing. I mean, it's just basically, it's kind of like I was saying on Saturday. There was a point in time a couple of years back, when I was still debating on leaving school back in 2008.
Don't do that.
We already did.
Where even all the way up until 2015, I felt like I was hitting a ceiling. Because even though I knew certain things, there were still some things that I just didn't know how they came into the picture.
Right.
Because there was just shit that I didn't know that I didn't know.
And nobody is pointing you in the right direction because you kept going in the direction that they pointed you into.
Right. And I already had their framework down. And it's so funny because I used to, before there was ever such thing as trolling, I remember trolling my professors, especially associate professors. Where they'll be, they'll come around, slam their hand on the desk. It was like, cut the fucking shit. You know what you're doing. It was like, and I'm thinking in my brain, like, all of this, whenever I start getting into all these other books, it's like everything in school just started sounding foreign.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it just started, just like this.
Because you're programmed, even at that level, you're programmed to be a follower and not a leader. So, and then basically they go through great lengths to hide books, and so a lot of books I would discover by accident, I actually put out in the public got pulled, like Gold Dollars and Power. No, I found it by accident, and when I found it, I started to disseminate that book. Guess what they did to the professor? They gave him his own
warning.
No, they gave him his own grant. CFR gave him his own grant and moved him someplace else. He's no longer a professor at Texas.
Hey, I remember walking by the faculty's break room before, and hearing the guy saying, "Yeah, that motherfucker was funny as hell." Because I would play roles. Like I remember they gave me strategies for success for like a third year in a row, and I just like, you know what, I'm just gonna wing it.
Yeah.
One semester I became a religious zealot.
You're just fucking with people.
It was like the Lord would not want us.
No, good Lord. hey, you know what, man? My side is still hurting, man. I'm surprised. I should have been on that one after those after hours when you with your butterfly spirit and that thought. Oh man, I fell out.
Man, she sit there. It's a man. She said something about guys sneaking in.
Oh yeah.
To switch up sperm.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is this? Like Perseus and the fucking sperm thief?
Yeah.
I wish you'd record that, upload that, man.
Oh, it was fun. When he said because niggas, man, everybody fell out the chair.
Oh man,
that was hilarious, man. I was sleeping, man. I was dead tired, man. I had to fall out my chair. It kind of woke me up, man. I
know. I got into that same kind of manic state in the early mornings, man. Like this is just some because niggas shit. Like she just tried to drag on an argument.
Yeah.
And then it let me know how subconsciously racist she was when she said, "Oh, it's not white people." It's like I didn't say you had to be white to be a nigga.
She's Native American, which shows you her level of indoctrination by white people.
Right.
She's Native American. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say about assimilation. I said it because of what we went through, it's going to take longer. Because you should have admixed from the beginning, but they prevented that from black
they prevented miscegenation, which is anti-assimilation.
Yeah.
And I always say that too. You know, this is why I say white supremacy has such short-sightedness.
Yeah.
Because if they really want to play the long game like China, the ideal thing for them to have done was to allow the Negro to operate their businesses and to expand unrestricted, because we were already interwoven into American economy. We had actually expanded that economy, been completely unstoppable. There wouldn't have been a country in the United States where we couldn't set up a base and subvert the population. If the Negro was allowed to grow unrestricted in economy.
But the thing is that the Negro was a rival labor class, and they needed jobs and positions for the Europeans coming over, escaping industrial capitalism over in Europe, and that was the actual reason for the basically anti-slavery. It wasn't because they cared about
especially during a time of integration where black people had their own, white people had their own. Now everything would have been on a partnership level. You know, because you would have been considered, still have the Prussian American school system in play. But still allow the separation of not only the races but the sexes, and black women start pushing their boys into the military. That way, when America set up a base in a foreign population, like say North Africa, you'd actually have an easier time subverting that area without even destabilizing it.
Because
that's the long game.
It's not about the phenotype. It's about the socialization and culturalization. If everybody thinks that they're American, which is what assimilation actually means, it doesn't mean that you change the phenotype. It's the thinking of the people. You
don't have to get rid of. You could have still had segregation. Just kept the Prussian school system all all across the board.
You could have, but the thing is that if eventually you're going to have to let them admix come in and actually marry each other, which is going to happen naturally anyway. If you didn't set up these artificial barriers.
Hey man, this dude. I think War. He's in the chat.
You know what, War? Go ahead, time War out, man. Because
War's a failure.
Go ahead and time him out, man. Because well, hold on a second. I'm talking to War, man. Every time we come on the chat, every time we come on, I let you out of jail, man, because I want to give you a chance, man. If you don't want a chance, man, Cerulean can tell you, I'm not doing this for the money, okay? Because I'm not making a tenth of what I could be making, like out on the Chitlin circuit. I'm not doing this for the money, man. I'm doing this because I want
those chitlins add up.
They do pay. They do pay. In fact, I have 2 people in the conscious community that actually want me to join them out on the road, write a book, and all that kind of stuff, and get involved with what they're doing. I think because I want to do my own thing, that's why I'm here. If you don't want to be here, you don't want to be on the platform, man. Go start your own, man. I don't want, I'm tired of dealing with this, man. I've dealt with this for like the last 4 months, man. Everybody knows how this works. If I tell Cerulean to shut the fuck up, guess what Cerulean's gonna do?
Shut the fuck up.
He's gonna shut the fuck up. I try to give everybody an opportunity to talk.
What it is a lot of people take that kind of personally. Shut the fuck up. Okay. Yeah. Like, why we gotta shut the fuck up?
Y'all talking about War.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the chat right now saying shit.
Good.
Yeah, man, he in the Google chat.
War, do you want me to block you, man? You can be in the Google chat, but I'm saying, do you want me to block you?
Oh, that's what
War, come on, man. Jump on. It's enough spots for you.
No, what I'm saying is if he wants to play, but everybody knows that I don't want you to overtalk me when I'm trying to get you open up a spot for you to talk. Don't go after the other guy. If I say wait, you're gonna get your chance to talk. Even people that I can't stand get a chance.
Edward's been fucking up in the Google chat.
War might have a black woman's mentality.
Oh man.
I mean, he ain't crazier than that last shit.
Man, War, I'm gonna tell you this, brother. I know black feminists that are milder tempered than this.
Yeah.
War, right? Yeah. So it's like so he might have a black woman's mentality. It seems like he's very emotional.
He is very emotional, unfortunately. I like his passion, man. But I'm saying is, I'm trying to.
Man. If I could direct War's passion out here in these streets, man, my goodness.
Yeah. Even Edward. If I tell Edward to shut up, he'll shut up. I'm trying to keep individuals from fighting each other. It's okay if you direct it at me because I have the gavel. I'm trying to
tell you, man. If I could be the guy behind the scenes in War. And get him to be the face of any organization with his passion, and destroy any opposition in my way. If I had a guy like that directly in my face, I would love to have a motherfucker like War.
Yeah,
really, that's fucked up.
Or even ABL for that matter. I mean, I could straighten out ABL clear up, man. Even though I think it's I think he's a tragic mockingbird at this point, but doesn't mean that he can't snap back.
You just equate War to the white woman of a black company.
Oh boy, here we go.
I was talking about a good government that we were talking about last week. If you read Muammar Gaddafi's Green Book, you see the as far as contemporary government in our society.
Yeah,
there's the best of both worlds, where you have the apparatus of capitalism mixed with the elegance of socialism. You'll find that book to be of great benefit to you if you read that book. A lot of the ideas that I was talking about on Saturday come directly from that book. Taking the powers away from private banks to
create and speculate money supply and its interest.
That's what
directly into the hands of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, basically, that's what the Federal Reserve actually did. Believe it or not, they took the
So
powers
what do
away
the
from individual
FBI
banks.
do then? What's their job?
FBI, it's domestic investigation. The FBI is the counter to the CIA. CIA does domestic international control. The FBI does domestic control.
Yeah,
different. One's domestic, one's foreign. So the CIA does foreign investigation or intelligence. That's what it's supposed to do, and the FBI does it for because they want to keep the two separate.
So what's the CIA then?
CIA is the intelligence agency that actually supposed to collect intelligence around the world so that you have intelligible action for your defense and your Congress, so they can make intelligent decisions. Supposed to, they go far beyond that.
They go a little bit above and beyond that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they asked me like, if I was the president, BGS would be my guy in the shadows, my red phone guy, like the NIC chair, which is like our national intelligence chair. So with that kind of executive power to back the think tank.
Yeah.
So I got a question for Cerulli.
Mm-hmm.
So what Snowden did, was it did it hurt America by a lot?
Big time, man.
Did it hurt America?
Huge, killed him basically with a silver bullet.
Do you know what I did to ABL in the Hangout? That's what Snowden did to America.
Oh man, huge. Snowden changed the financial game all the way around the world because, like I said, it's real quick. The thing that they kept the Chinese at bay and kept the Chinese paying is because the Chinese didn't have all the technology. The technology was developed by the West, right? And the Chinese were trying to get it, but they've been rationed little by little. So they have to set up a company and learn it. They have to buy the technology, try to steal it.
In fact, he gave them the key to how the various components that are manufactured in China are actually put together to create the technology that was developed here.
In other words, artificial intelligence, biological experimentation, all that kind of stuff was all given, because instead of them having to hack it and steal it and get into it, basically, Stone says, "Look, I got all the keys to all the back doors to all the information you ever wanted." The Chinese says, "Good, but we can't protect you. We're gonna send you to Russia. Give some of that to them and negotiate for your life."
Why would he do something like that?
Okay. This is my reading, and I have a guy that's probably has read some books about military intelligence, right? Snowden was brilliant. If you read his biography, he was really a brilliant hacker. He was a gifted hacker. That's how he was hired by the NSA as a contractor, right? Well, when you get a hacker that gifted on the inside where he doesn't have to hack through walls, he can actually get the information bit by bit and sell it off. He was actually selling his information to the Chinese bit by bit, okay, to make money because he's not a hero. He's a mercenary. Okay. The thing is, if you're on the inside of the NSA, you're selling NSA secrets bit by bit. If somebody gets wind that you're doing this, what do you need to do? You got two options. What's the first option?
Run.
You run. What's your second option?
Die.
Well, not necessarily die because they want to know what he gave up. They're gonna put him into a hole.
They're gonna torture him.
Yeah. Forever bury him in a black box.
Black box and never to be seen again. So between a black box and freedom outside the United States, which one are you going to take?
Freedom.
So what was the first thing Snowden did? Where did he run?
To Russia.
No, he ran to China.
China.
Yeah, he ran to China.
So in other words, who's going to protect you when you need to run? The people that were paying. No, the people that were paying you in the first place. If somebody's paying you to spy and you're collecting information, you need to run. Are you just going to run anywhere? No, you're going to run to the guys that were paying you. Oh, hey, you know, I've been employed with you for this amount of years, and I've been selling you secrets. What can you do for me? And said, okay, well, yeah, we've been paying you, but what you got for us to actually negotiate your safety? And so he had to give everything up. In fact, they haven't spilled all the stuff that he's actually given, because they spilled some of it, but that last cash that
which is very intelligent of them to bird feed it to him little by little.
No, they didn't bird feed. The Russians have been bird feeding them out, actually releasing it out, bird feeding. Because all I have to say is the Russians is that give me all you got, or I'm gonna put you on a plane.
Or I'm gonna hand you over to your enemies. That's it.
I'm gonna put you on. You're in Moscow. I'm gonna fly you to London, and you can negotiate with the Americans.
Yeah. Shit.
So in other words, either you give
ain't no negotiating with us now. I mean,
as you give me everything you got, and you
that'd
stay
be a real short negotiation.
Yeah, I mean, it all the Chinese say we can't protect you here, so they sent him to Moscow. So he had to do the same thing in Moscow. So you've been seeing the they gave up one cache in like 2009 to say this is some of what we have. Okay, and then the second cache was released right after not Trump, but the Democrats said that the Russian spying. So they gave up some more of it. Said, okay, we still got more, but he gave up so much, man. That basically they said there are no secrets, because they can't get rid of all the backdoors that they built into the system.
Remember that when Trump said in
what's that?
No, you remember when there was a video of Trump saying Russia dropped the emails?
What I'm saying, what they found, there's two emails. I said from the beginning that there's three people that could have done the deed, right? As far as dropping emails, it was United States, Russia, and China. China had no reason to drop the emails. They didn't care about Hillary Clinton. They liked Hillary Clinton, right?
Yeah,
they would have preferred Hillary Clinton, but Russia hated Hillary Clinton. There's groups that hated Hillary Clinton, the DOD, or the intelligence agency, because of what happened in Libya with what's his name, and then Russia for Ukraine. They hated Hillary Clinton. So those are the two people that actually did the deed. And I said until the evidence came out to see which one actually did the deed, we don't know. We finally found out that it was the Americans that actually did the deed.
Yeah, it's the reason why it's dependent on everybody else, because they still need plausible deniability.
Yeah, I had said that from the beginning. I thought I thought it was the Americans, but it could have been the Russians just as easily, because the Russians had a bone to pick with her too. They didn't want to see her elected either. So they could have blamed it on each other. They're actually pointing at each other, even though they both could have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think probably the Americans probably did the second email drop.
The second one, we know the Americans did it, because nobody else.
Wait, is that even true? Like that whole Pizzagate and all that type, is that type of underworld true?
Oh yeah, because they broke up about 4 international child kidnapping rings right after Pizzagate.
Oh yeah, I mean, even six months before Pizzagate happened, they had a roundup in the UK where they couldn't even arrest all of them. It was like some high-level players.
So high-level players. Once those emails came out, they got those emails. Yeah, they started breaking up these rings. So yeah, it is true. That's how you know when the emails come out. What's the immediate after effect?
Yeah,
arrest.
Yeah,
arrest and damage control.
Yep, and they actually, right after the emails dropped, they released a few of them, and they sealed up the rest of them. And in
That's why the international policy of America is to deny everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In fact, they just dropped some more because she was, I think right after she published that book, they dropped some more on her. So they have tons that they can drop on her. Trying to keep her in check.
Yeah, they want her to shut up.
She's such a sociopath. She can't shut the fuck up and just take her L and move on. But that's who she is, though. But that's what they said she was, even from the very beginning, that Hillary Clinton was that kind of person.
Yeah. But yeah, you could count China out of that, because
Are you kidding me? Her husband is the reason why China became one of our biggest lenders. They're not about to fuck up that, buddy. Like he did a good thing for us.
Because he still get Chinese money. They wanted her in. They're the only group of the three that wanted her in. You know, the Russians and the U.S. didn't want Hillary Clinton to even get within sniffing distance of the.
Hell, you look at some of those prison bills from the '90s. See, look at who's some of the biggest investors.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Chinese companies with American names.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It gets deep. It gets deep. Closing thoughts, folks, and and then I'll see you guys later on tonight.
I was gonna give him some pizza, but after hearing that, I don't really want no
pizza anymore. Make sure it's real cheese if you do, man. And not some other kind of foreign substance.
Yeah, man. That's probably it. I'll probably talk to you on the chat. I'll be there.
It's either I gotta do two, man. That's like I'm not gonna do an 8-hour one tonight. So I'll be like goo at the end of tonight's hangout if I do.
Man, I just hope we see another feminist, man, talking about breaking into
she mentioned that shit, talking about I'm a feminist, by the way. Oh, you don't
really
say.
Really?
I would have never guessed.
Because men breaking into sperm banks, that's a common thing.
Oh yeah. She didn't have any more arguments, man. Okay.
Oh man, yeah, that's it, man.
How do you stop?
Ain't no niggas breaking into those sperm bank shit.
Because of niggas.
We got enough problems as it is, motherfucker.
She didn't like them. Man. She had nothing to say, man. I don't think she didn't even get the joke, man. She just all of a sudden we started laughing.
And see, that's what I said. Like, if it was me being president, first thing I would do is put all money printing and speculation in the hands of the government directly, and cut out all of the international banksters, and then I would take medicine out of privatization. I would take prison out of privatization.
Well, that's why the Chinese are going to go to cryptocurrencies. They're going to cut out the middleman, which are the bankers.
No, this is the last question.
Yeah, and cut them all out.
My last question.
Go ahead, bro.
Very last. How come we don't give because I remember you talking about androids and they're creating these little machines to think for us.
Mm-hmm.
How come they don't put like the money in the robot's hands or the automation? Or
they're going to have
AI.
to. They are going to. There's going to be resistance, but the only fair arbiter is an AI, and that's what. But they have to go.
A lot of people that are getting away with those the economic misandry and the insider trading, they don't want that.
They don't want that. Yeah, they don't want that
because now they can't cook the books the way they normally do.
There's no books,
especially when a new influx of drug money is coming in, and they need a way to
I think
wash it all up.
There'll be a certain amount of. It won't be illegal anymore.
All right.
Cat definitely gotta have a seat on the cabinet.
Oh yeah, he does. All right, closing thoughts. Art, you want to have a closing thought?
Everybody have a good night, and if you want to get a good laugh before you go to sleep, watch the video. The dogs. Your mama's a crackhead. Your mama's a crackhead.
Your mama's head. Okay.
Your mama's. I sent the video on the chat. I don't think you've seen it. If you haven't. It's an old 1991 rap song about talking about a woman that's a mother on crackhead that's on crack.
Oh, whoa!
Can you post that link in the chat again?
Yeah, I can. It's funny as shit.
I could go for a good laugh.
I'll do that.
Yeah, it's called the group's called The Dogs, or the guys The Dogs, and it's called Your Mama's on Crack Rock.
The dogs and mama's on crack rock?
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm out, man. Because of niggas.
Because niggas.
And I am going to watch that video because niggas.
Yeah.